and when I was in here the other day, I picked up the notices. Chris had a couple of them printed, and I took them up and hung them up at the transfer station. Plus, there's one on the outside of the building, and we'll get one, make sure it's up on the website.
Great. Ryan, I see that you got the final impact survey here for the COVID-19 impacts.
Yeah, no, talk about it if you want to.
Oh, so when you get to your, okay, good. So I'm glad to see that you were able to get that in.
It's already been submitted to them, what's had to be submitted.
Expiration date, huh?
Yeah, I think Thursday was the last day to submit it, Wednesday or Thursday.
That's why when I saw it, I said, oops, and
I'd already done.
Oh, okay. Good. I was late to the table.
Did you get a signature file there? Did you get that?
No, I did not. I'm sitting here just, yep, thank you, Tom. I was actually just reading notes, thank you.
This is a care package that was marquee. They need this at the transfer station. Which person would like, would you, Mr. Fuller?
Care package for the transfer station, I will take it.
Little TP.
They did,
Make sure you charge them. Those are worth about $100 a roll right now. I saw a video on somebody paying their bill. They were putting the gray up to yourself. Instead of Jack.
Chief Burbank, did you get a copy of the governor's, I'm pretty sure he did, on the campgrounds from the governor's emergency order? And would that fall in your wheelhouse?
yeah, what's all I might have it on the email at the fire station.
Oh. Well, this one's from NHMA. It's a follow-up on April 20th. The order came out, was Emergency Order 27, and it restricts the operation of hotels and other lodging providers to include public and private campgrounds. It goes on to state the campgrounds in the state has been the single biggest concern we've heard about from cities and towns in the last 2 weeks. The issue is also dominated by the biweekly legal conference run by Home Security. So I imagine they're looking to keep the campgrounds that weren't open closed at this point. Is that what I'm getting?
No.
No.
Last I know, they're still opening. If they're open before the 27th, I believe it was, they can stay open, you can't take anybody out. But if they weren't, they suggest you keep it closed. Last I knew, there was, I don't know how you keep it closed. The one I'm concerned about is Camp Harris. They bring staff in from other countries, they bring clients in from other countries. So if, I'm gonna get on to one of these legal conference calls they have every Tuesday, and I'm gonna ask that question. I have the right to keep them closed, because they do bring in people from other countries.
Okay.
I think that, it's Brian Burke speaking, that's a letter from the Municipal Association.
Right.
Asking the governor to close them, and he's giving the reasons why they should be closed. And they're basically saying all their membership is in agreement. He ought to revisit the fact that he's gonna allow some of them to open. They want them all closed. That's what that letter is all about.
I thought I saw the original notice, Order 27, that I was under the impression it was restricted.
As of this morning, campgrounds can open.
Okay.
That letter is to the governor, urging him to close them.
Okay.
A lot of your, first responders and people like that,
on some of the conferences I've listened to with NHMA and the municipality, many of the fire department personnel, first responders, yada, yada, have concerns about the influx of people and the spread of the virus, particularly, because most people come from Massachusetts or elsewhere. And that, I believe this letter is a result of those concerns. So they're writing to the governor saying, can you please not allow these people?
Right, got it, a big jump in population.
Right, yeah, exactly.
Yeah, if that comes down, if a decision comes down from the governor, we're not really well prepared to enforce that, but you would be the person, the point person, Randy, for that? Okay.
As a mercenary. Camp Harrison is a different entity, it's not a campground, it's a summer camp. Whereas Osceola Campground technically never closes because they keep people living there year round. So, yeah.
Well, actually, our campgrounds are supposed to only operate for 180 days a year, as a campground. They can staff for maintenance and stuff other than that, so they do close. And they are closed at this point in time, so that would be something I think that you probably just wanna monitor. I don't wanna get into telling you what we should or shouldn't do, cause I have no clue what's the right thing to do on this. I defer to you, actually.
Technically, if they come up from Massachusetts, they're supposed to, quarantine for 2 weeks. But they're only up here for a week. People aren't gonna quarantine 24/7.
Sure.
I'm up here a week.
Sure.
I did find out the doctor,
Well, that's the thing, you know, you can put things on paper and call it an order, and enforcing it and making it functional as a whole.
you can't enforce it. That's one big question.
It's already been, they closed boat ramps, and I've already seen people putting boats in at this time for boat ramps. Okay.
I haven't seen this one before, the Vegetation Control Services, the herbicide treatments. Anybody got any thoughts on this?
I've seen it in the past, it's utility companies, not, taking care of their power lines right away. It's the first time I've seen one in a long time, but
Yeah, I think I've seen it actually done in practice, but I haven't seen the paperwork come to us before.
and that attachment looks like every single township in the area where they plan to do the work, not just Effingham. So, all the diagrams attached to poles and everything else for the entire project.
That's the first one that's appeared since I've been here.
More information than I'm going to get into today. right, looks like we've got through all our signature file folders, manifest. So I'll make the, motion to approve the manifest for $24,685.51. Do I have a second?
I'll second that.
All in favor, say aye.
Chuck Fuller, aye.
Tom Hack, aye.
Cahalan, aye. Signature folders, let me see, we had our minutes in there, and I'd like to make a motion to approve the April 14th regular board, select board minutes. Do I have a second?
A second, but I haven't had it.
All right, a discussion on that, Chuck?
Yeah, page 2, Chris. The language with the L-chip grant. Strike will be ready to be signed next week, and add, he reported the L-chip grant letter of intent will be submitted electronically. And that's what I had.
Can you read that back, so it says, it does,
He reported the L-chip grant letter of intent will be submitted electronically.
okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Any other discussion on the minutes? All right, all in favor, say, aye.
Chuck Fuller, aye.
Tom Hack, aye.
Mike Cahalan, aye. And then we have the minutes, of the April 14th work session. Make a motion to approve.
Second.
Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, say aye.
Chuck Fuller, aye.
Tom Hack, aye.
Cahalan, aye. Okay. And in the, signature folder, we had several requests for abatements, all of which were requested by the assessor to be denied.
That's not correct.
It's not correct.
There's one that they recommended you grant.
It was a reduction.
Oh, I'm sorry,
Assessed value, so it was a partial.
partial reduction. Oh, reduction. Yes, I stand corrected. And we signed the yield tax warrant for $998.63. And then we have in the action folder, the discussion on, the tree on Drake Road, as we've already covered. And later on, I may be able to get some other information, and perhaps there's someone I can contact and see what the intentions are on the utility company regarding this tree. They were in favor of taking it down at one point, and see if that's still the case. Another item, I know that this was brought to me about a drop box outside. I think we kind of missed the ball on this one. We initially put a drop box up right away, which was great, but it's not weatherproof. And I understand we had some rain issues. Deanna, was that?
Yesterday I had somebody refuse to put their debit card in there. And I did take a look at it. I mean, I think a child could pick the lock. My concern now is how long is this going to go on, and I need a secure box.
Okay.
So it needs to be larger, secure, and no rain can get in.
Weather tight.
Weather tight, yes.
And the weatherproofing at this point consists of a plastic notebook cover that
Yeah.
is duct tape.
We recognized when it went in, if that was flawed. We just never followed up, so that's really our fault.
And now people are dropping sensitive stuff off at night into the box. I know we have, everything's being recorded out there, but it's not secure.
Right. And then somebody's after hours, it's vulnerable. Yeah, hearing that, I did contact Christine and asked her to follow up. I guess she had some initial probes on looking at the mailboxes that fit our needs. I saw there was some in the file folder. Did anybody have time, Brian, anyone, to look at that, to come up with, is there any in there that seems like they meet our needs?
Brian Burke, I haven't gone through them. actually, Deanna and I talked a little bit yesterday, and we're trying to get some idea about what's gonna happen with elections and what the volume's gonna be. I asked when the box was empty yesterday after the weekend, it was only half full. So that one is not too small.
Well, can I interject?
Sure.
It is too small, because if this goes on much longer, I need something that people can actually put plates into, so it does need to be bigger than what it is.
And we might be able to receive packages from FedEx and UPS here at the building than remote locations if the box is larger.
Well, I think there's two different things there. If we were gonna get something for packages, that's packages. This item here, I think, to the point Deanna was making, there's sensitive, items in there, so it needs to be pretty secure from, you know, as a locking
I
mechanism.
guess what I'm trying to say is, some of those boxes are really big.
Right,
Some of them are kind of small. I think we need to do some research to get the right size box that is weatherproof before we order one, because there's prices all over the place, and we ought to research who has bid on the boxes.
state bid? Well, I guess then if you got to the state bid portion and see what's available, it has something, that would be, I think that's probably a priority item at this point. Because hearing what I heard from Deanna the other day about what was getting wet in there, this is something we need to make a decision on. And if we get something a little too big, well, you know, I don't know. Yeah, I don't think that's a big,
I think
That
that,
will always have it.
I think that we also need to look at what it is that we're going to be putting into the box. I didn't realize we were putting number plates in.
Well, there are circumstances that I need plates back.
Okay, so I think we've got to look at, is it gonna just take letters, is it gonna take number plates, is it gonna take envelopes? And I think that's all research that needs to be done before we spend, some of those boxes are $800 to $900.
yeah, well, I saw some at 3 that might be a smaller version.
So but I think we need to do that research, and we just haven't done it yet. I'd say, I'd ask that we hold off for maybe a week.
Well, that's what I was gonna say. Is there any chance this can get narrowed down this week? Because I think that the look I'm getting over here is,
Now.
yesterday is really what I'm seeing.
Yeah.
So,
I'm not comfortable asking people to leave their stuff in the Dropbox overnight.
yeah, and now we've made that very clear on tape, so again, I think that adds.
But I think we've got to, I don't think we're gonna take FedEx and
No,
I don't want to.
stuff, that's way
Plates
too
are the
big
biggest I need.
a process. I think we have that set up now, and it's,
And to your point, I don't think we need a giant, the $900 version. I mean, we get just so much traffic here at any point in time before you folks are able to go out and clear out what goes in. So, I don't think it needs to be the biggest, it may not need to be the smallest, but it does need to be weather tight, and it does need to be reasonably secure so that the locking mechanism poses a problem from vandalism.
And Randy is the one who put this on the wall, right? Does it matter where it goes? Does it come back on the wall?
I
You have to take all that into consideration?
it's,
It probably depends on the size of the unit you're gonna get and the weight of it, on whether it's gonna have to be on the ground bolted to the building or hung on the building. Until we know what the unit is, I'm not sure you can answer the question.
we also don't want to compromise this weatherproof, and so we're gonna have to look at the specific box we buy and what the recommendation is for the, it should be secured, so someone can't pick the whole box up and walk off with it, but we're gonna have to look at.
well, that's, again, I mean, there's some research to be done, and hopefully you folks can kind of coordinate that in here as to your needs and kind of solve most of the puzzle for us, and then as far as securing it to the building, you know, that potentially we may.
But we can't accomplish today, we ought to be able to accomplish on Thursday.
Okay, wonderful. Great, and that's in the works.
Can I ask something?
Please do, Mr. Hart.
I was just looking out here at these doors, see the smaller windows on the side of the doors? There's 2 of them. What about, well, can we check out a price, see what, take one of those windows out and put a solid metal in with
A drop.
mailbox, and then a box on the inside of the building to collect the stuff, put it into the mailbox.
Nice idea, right?
That might-
That's why we elected you.
Yeah, it's
Thanks.
out of the box.
Yeah, that's certainly a good option, I guess. I mean, that's just everybody's.
That's the type of research we need to get done before we decide to
Sure.
spend the money.
Okay.
Because that's gonna, and I think that's a great idea, but that's gonna cost a little more, and it's gonna take a little more, it's gonna take someone with some ability to take those windows out and.
Well, the glass company, you just call them up and they could.
Carroll County Glass.
The last time we had an issue with the door, we called, AJ Glass, who's been reasonable, Carroll County, whomever, but I know we worked with AJ's Glass out of, North Conway in the past, and they may, have an option like Tom's outlined in there for something like this. They may know of a product.
You say,
Well, they may know of a product to insert, kind of a key slot, but larger.
There may even have been a box in that pile that actually fits into a wall and drops out, but that would be so super.
No. We'll do the glass.
All kinds of options.
Well, the glass option is a good one.
Yep.
It meets a lot of the safety, security, and weather issues right in one shot.
Yep. And,
You don't even have to go outside. Yeah.
all right then, I guess that one's on the table for you folks to work on, and hopefully you have a solution sooner than later. All right then, let's see, calls to be made on the tree. Reviewed also in the mail was the tax collector's certification to the selectmen.
I'd like to make sure that that's in minutes so that Deanna has complied with that requirement.
Okay, is that in the signature folder?
I think it was in the mail folder.
Bear with me as I look for that form. Yes. Yep, this is the State of New Hampshire's Board of Tax and Land Appeals, and it's the notice to all tax collectors. This has been completed and will be returned no later than May 1st, 2020. And it's in accordance with the provisions of RSA 76:13. And it's to, I don't know what we need to really explain more than that.
No, it's just for your file. I already sent it.
Okay. So that has been signed, and it is in the mail folder to be retained as part of our records. We had a letter from executive counselor, and I'm gonna say Cranes. I don't know if I'm gonna mess up my name or not. And that's in response to the COVID-19. We also had an NHMA COVID-19 final impact statement. Brian has,
I'll talk about that under the administrator's comments, or about how I came up with it.
okay, Brian has filled that out, our town administrator, he'll follow up. We talked somewhat about the, opening of campgrounds, and there'll be some follow-up on that. And there's, vegetation control services going to be provided by the New Hampshire, Electric, Corporation, or Cooperative, I'm sorry. So I'm not sure how much that really impacts us here in Effingham. We don't have a lot of that, their transmission lines, I don't believe, in town. And the file was too big for me to dig through at the time.
Actually, when I looked at it, there's only one line in Effingham that's a New Hampshire Electric Co-op line. It's a short distance. They sent everything for all the areas that they're gonna cover.
I knew it was very limited. Oh, is that Randy Simon Hill? Okay, there you go. So, if there's concerns about any herbicides being sprayed, it'd be somewhere up on Simon Hill. Right. Then we have, Brian's comments, administrator's comments. So, Brian, why don't you go ahead?
I just wanted to ask a question. I got a bill from Easton Analytical that, was actually billed to HEB, and HEB said we were gonna pay it directly. That's on the testing of the water at the old dump site to the wells around it. I don't know, I couldn't find a contract, so I didn't know whether the contract with HEB had this in it, or if the HEB did not, and we owed the bill to Eastern Analytical at $729.75, so it wasn't a small bill. I just don't know what the agreement was with HEB way back when you set that up for them to do the monitoring.
Right, so,
That was my question, that's why it's there.
This is Chuck. Is that,
Sorry about that, thought I shut that off.
is that the testing that was done on that one property on 153?
I think Brian's saying that that was landfill monitoring, right, not the individual.
It says subcontract, PFAS,
PFAS.
EPA, 537 module, and 9 compounds. And then, and that's $250, and then there's field service labor per hour, and there's mileage in there, and there's field services, consumables, and there's overnight shipping and handling.
Okay, why don't you, and when we get done here, why don't you leave me the, invoice number, and I'll call Jeff Sayers up at, HEB and find out what that's under. Because we've got two things going on.
It sounded to me like HEB had a contract with us, because Eastern Analytical built them.
Yeah, I believe that was the individual test on probably.
That's what I'll verify. And if it was the individual test, that'll be a separate charge. It'll go under the whole, in the chart of accounts. It'll still end up in the landfill monitoring, because that was an oversight.
Well, I'll leave this.
Yeah, and I'll follow up. I'll call Jeff.
That's that. I just wanted to indicate to you, not including bills that were paid, to manifest today, we have just under $1 million in the checking account. 997,000 to be exact. Just wanted to give you that update. The COVID-19 report came from the Municipal Association. What they were trying to do was they were trying to get information on how the pandemic is affecting municipal governments within the state. They asked a number of questions. They wanted to know what we had spent thus far. I said roughly $4,000 in the fire department so far, and a lot of that was elderly person checks and equipment. And they wanted to know what I anticipated for the rest of this year, calendar year. I said another 36,000. And most of this is kind of shooting in the dark. They want to know how much that we're going to charge for the health officer. I indicated to them we didn't have any idea at this point in time. We hadn't spent anything yet, but we didn't have public assistance, the same thing. Technology, I indicated to them we'd spent about $2,000 at this point in time, and I thought about another $15,000 before the end of the year. Legal fees, who knows? Assessing, I told them that I thought it might cost us an additional $5,000 this year, because this was a reassessment year, and we had no idea what might drive up the costs of getting the reassessment done. Elections, Deanna and I talked for a minute, and we decided maybe another $5,000. It's kind of up in the air on whether people are going to be able to do all absentee ballots. It appears that's what's going to happen, which will mean there'll be some more work in those. So I said primary and general election, no idea what the additional costs are, but we kind of guesstimated it maybe another $5,000.
Just while you're on that one, Brian, there is a cost, I understand, to absentee ballots that the town absorbs. Is that correct, Dean?
Oh, yes, we have to pay postage.
You pay the postage, okay. I just wanted to,
And if we had more than half the people decide to use that, because my understanding, the Secretary of State says anybody can use it, COVID-19 is a reason for absentee balloting, is that correct?
Right.
And so, say half the people use that, that's gonna be some additional cost and just labor opening them up and getting ready for
We have no
count.
idea when we'll be in September.
Right.
We have no idea when we'll be in
Yeah.
September.
That
So-
September and November are our next two.
So I thought actually putting $5,000 in there was a
Sure.
prudent thing. Facilities maintenance, I indicated we've spent about $1,000 so far. We have done that on cleaning equipment. I anticipated the possibility of another 10,000 on top of that, and that's cleaning and protective equipment. Communications and legal notices, utilities and telephone, overtime pay, not included above, employee health insurance, medical expenses, and borrowing costs are left all blank, which means I told them that to date we'd spent about $7,000 on the COVID-19, and I figured we might have the possibility of another 71,000 on top of that before the end of the year. They asked for an overall budget impact, and size of the revenue shortfall we expected to occur between March 13th and December 31st. We talked about this a lot and tried to figure it out. Property taxes, we do about $4.5 million, just under $4.5 million. 40% of them are paid for mortgage by banks or mortgage companies or holding companies. So I thought maybe that 40% we'll probably get without much problem. I figured maybe 10% or more of the people will pay their taxes because they have the ability to do that. But I was a little concerned that maybe half of those taxes would come in. So I indicated that I thought that could actually be a $2 million shortfall with property taxes. And they want to know what percentage of our annual budget that was, and I said 50%. They did ask, what that was called, is your shortfall primarily the result of, and they said you can only select one. So I said unanticipated revenue decline. The other choices was unanticipated expenditures increase, both or other, but I thought the real shortfall was going to be the $2 million possible in income. They wanted to know which, if any, municipal functions we anticipating being significantly affected. I did not indicate police, fire, or waste management, but I indicated social services, libraries, parks, and recreation would be impacted. They want to know what we might do to make up the revenue shortfall. I indicated cut public services, close facilities. The others will lay off employees, furlough employees, increase fees, or draw down revenues. We don't have revenues to draw down. We're not going to increase fees, to the best of my knowledge, and this board, at least to this point, has resisted any layoffs or furloughs, so I left those all blank. And they described, let's see, they want to describe any other. I said that we might delay regional school payments, and that was one of the choices also. They said, describe any other specific financial issues or concerns. I said we need recalculation of the Governor Wentworth Regional School District costs to not be able to make the payments.
Okay.
And that was, when I looked at income, and Deanna gave me roughly, as I said, just under $4.5 million in annual tax, and we have got about $322,000 in motor vehicle income taxes. Those were the things that we kind of used for questions. Now, did ask on motor vehicle fees. I said 7% is between 7 and 8, but it's close enough to 7%. Was our annual income for the needed money to operate. I indicated that we probably did have a shortfall so far in the monies. And I indicated that we anticipated a shortfall shortfall, Diana and I looked at this, we anticipated the shortfall would be maybe 20 grand.
I do wanna say, that morning when you asked me those questions, I did pull, the numbers from my motor vehicle town clerk, revenue last year versus this year when COVID started to that day, and we were $4,000 short, but you know what my deposit was at the end of the day? $4,000. So, yeah, revenue for motor vehicles, same last year.
There's a couple things to think on that, though.
Okay.
First off is we didn't budget for the record high that we brought in last year, 322. So our projected revenues to the state were much lower. The next thing is, that's an ongoing process every day, every week, every month throughout the year. So people up to this point probably haven't been, I'll say, financially displaced. You know, their economic impacts probably haven't really landed yet. So we're looking at basically, you know, a quarter of the year a little better. It's the next portion of the year that probably will be telling, and I would expect that those numbers will go down, because certainly new vehicle purchases could be impacted, which is a big ticket part of that. And then if people aren't commuting and getting to work or having to go, you don't register the extra vehicle that you may have, or maybe you're not able to register vehicles.
And these were all meant to be estimates anyway.
Right,
The
understood.
municipal association was trying to get a handle on what to tell the governor and the finance committee was needed by municipalities in order to be able to continue to function. And that they're looking at trying to direct federal dollars so that municipalities get some of that also, so that we don't go bankrupt in the process.
And that's to my point. I wouldn't be conservative with those numbers in the sense of thinking that we're gonna get more. I'd lean the other way. I don't think it's out the impact.
If we thought the normal delinquency rate, semi-annual property taxes, sufficient revenue to be able to obtain tax anticipation notes, I told them we're not sure, because we haven't done it for so long, we don't know.
Right. I did look into that, though. We are approved on our permanent file to go for a tax anticipation note. However, the benefits of that, since you gotta pay it off in December, are, why take a loan you can't pay?
That's right. Anyway, those were the answers and the rationale that was used to come up with those answers, to give to the municipal association. When we received, as you saw in the email you apparently got, when we got the email, we had less than 24 hours to respond to it.
Yeah, that's kind of why I got a little excited and shot right out to you. Thank you, Brian. Thank you all, Deanna, for working on that, getting that out. I think that's very important.
I wanted to also ask, which isn't on it, anybody got any idea how Teresa Swanik is doing? Because she's our web person, so we're not getting stuff on the web yet.
This is Chuck. I've actually been working with her over the last week, and she's got stuff up, she's been putting stuff up on there, so. Are you saying that you've reached out to her and you haven't gotten anything?
Well, I'm trying to figure, as we talked
Yeah.
at a work session, maybe 2 work sessions ago, trying to get the email accounts straightened out so that.
She has not done that. I asked that
Correct.
question. Yep.
And someone told me she was ill and in bed, so I'm
She
trying.
had been,
Is she got COVID-19 or is it something?
not that I'm aware of.
Huh?
Not that I'm aware of, no.
I know she was sick for a couple days, but to the best of my knowledge, she doesn't have the virus, and she's been doing fairly well. After that, we had a joint CIP and planning board meeting last week, and she was one of the attendees on the phone and was doing pretty good.
Okay, then I'll start. I didn't want to be sending a whole lot of stuff to her if she was sick in bed. I will start sending stuff to her.
Yeah. I think she's fair game, Brian.
Okay. That's all I've got, unless you've got something from me.
Not at this time.
Okay.
On that note, I guess I'll turn this over to Tom Hart.
Tom Hart. Couple things. We need to call Ron on these weight posting the road postings, I've got a couple of calls the past couple of days on them, they seem to still be up.
They are.
Yeah.
I had that on my list this morning too, 'cause like none of them been taken down yet.
I
Some
saw
of
one down at the end of the street up
Right.
here.
Well, I mean,
Still a lot of them out there, yeah.
153 this morning, and
Alright, faucets and ladies room are done. The petition in the men's room, gonna run between $850 and $900. That's shipped, delivered, not installed though. So, that's something to think on anyway, if we wanna go that route. And do we have a plan for tomorrow's birthday pickup? The kids are gonna be out, have we put anything in place that we're supposed to be picking them up, I guess, the bags?
Well, so far, Cahalan here, so far, I know that, all three of the Board of Selectmen have been out collecting bags and
Alright,
been out on the roads. Sometimes duplicating efforts, I guess that's gonna happen. My gut feeling is these folks are probably gonna get out, you know, reasonably early in the morning, not before 6, I'm sure, probably closer to 8 or 9. And, they've got a parade route that they're going to follow. No idea how many people are going to attend. But I can't imagine that this will probably go beyond, say, 3 o'clock in the afternoon. At which point, I just assumed that we would, you know, go on the parade route and collect bags. That was my intention, to be available tomorrow. I'll take the small dump truck out. I know everybody else has a truck if you need it.
and, Randy said he had a parade route, didn't you?
I know those.
That was Lever.
I asked the room.
We had it supplied to us, so we have that in the office, so everybody can have that.
All right, other things, do we have a road maintenance plan at all?
What kind of road maintenance?
The grading schedule, you know,
No grading schedule, and we tried to, it's been tried before to put one together, and it's failed. My first year on the board, we tried to schedule it out for blocks of time in the summer or across, you know, spring, summer, fall. And the problem there is the roads and their condition, weather-related, a lot of rain, lack of rain, doesn't go on a schedule. So you'll have times when the roads hold up pretty good, in which case you don't grade them because maybe you put the calcium chloride down, which causes a shell. You break that shell, and now you've opened it up to just, you know, potholes coming a lot quicker. So, like this year, we started grading very early because we had a lot of potholes, but the frost was not too far down, and it just didn't take. So we cleaned it up a little, and 2 weeks later, it was just as bad. And we pushed it off until the weather, you know, defrosted the road somewhat, and there's a grading process that's still going on right now. I think we started last week.
yeah, I saw the grader out there.
Yeah. It's, you know, and to that, there's a certain priority to that process. So if your road hasn't been graded, it's likely to be sooner than later as long as the weather stays good. So yeah, you get a heavy rain year, you know, you get washouts, you get more grading. You get a dry year, you may not, you know, like last year we did really well, and we didn't have to grade as often. So it's kind of as needed. Other than that, ditching is probably the big issue, and establishing that as an ongoing process now because it hasn't been done maybe ever, that it's consistently had a process. So right now we're in where water builds up, you know, when you have rains, to try and mitigate any ponding against the road. So that's kind of Ron's marching order now, to any problem areas, take care of those, and then what we want to do is start claiming the right-of-ways, the sides of the roads that have had a lot of rocks, stumps, you know, build-up obstructions, things that have piled up from plowing or years of neglect, and try and get some of the trees that are, you know, saplings, not really anymore, clearing those out. So
about crack sealing and
Crack-
patch.
crack-
That come into the picture.
crack sealing, we signed the contract for that. We've identified 2 roads to be taken on by the RCH They'll be coming out probably in May as the weather warms up, maybe earlier if we have good weather. And then, any other roads that you find that are in decent shape that need crack sealing. Haven't driven down Bailey Road lately. That's a really good road. Does that have crack sealing? And, other than that, a lot of our roads just aren't candidates for crack sealing. So it's specific to roads that are still fairly well intact. Potholes, that's an ongoing springtime thing, and I'll put that on the list. As Ron's been trying to call in, so
Yeah,
the
that's right,
times
remind me of
and,
that.
and potholes will be, discussed. So yeah, is there anything else you need further clarification on, or, we don't have the funds
Right.
to just do a full-blown go around town and reestablish ditching everywhere. I know on Snow Road, there's been some issues, so, Wally Philbrook, Granite, not so much, I guess. Culpit had only a few culverts out there, but there's been culvert replacements taking place out in the Granite, Wally Philbrook, area.
Yeah, I saw it run with a trailer the other day with like 5 or 6 culverts on it headed out that direction.
And that's the thing, we stockpiled culverts. We know we have problem areas with culverts. We have rusted out culverts that have been failing, just blocked. So Ron's been out early this spring identifying where we've got ponding, where we've got those, water issues, ditching's not flowing. So, he's out there, right now, I'm assuming he's popping culverts and putting in the new poly culverts.
Just one last thing. Where do we stand on the, I guess, the Boston Post cane? I've been asked this. I wasn't sure, Lou, has anything happened with it, or we still looking for the people?
Well, I think we're gonna turn that over to Chuck in a second to go into the process, because I think he volunteered to follow up on some of that. But as a board, we did discuss a couple things there. We have the original and we have a replica of the cane.
Yeah.
And I believe we all were in favor of displaying them in like shadow boxes, in one in this facility, the replica at the library, and instead of giving the canes out because you can't replace them anymore, simply use a plaque.
Yeah.
And at least with the plaque, you'll be able to keep that.
Right.
The families can keep it, and they'll at least have something. Otherwise, you just return the cane. Well,
Exactly.
your father-in-law was the last holder of it, and you have nothing.
Someone asked us now, we have nothing to show that he
Okay, great.
possessed this.
So, I think a tastefully done plaque is where we fell down on that.
You have a summary of the update of where it's at?
Well, what about,
The names and all of people.
what's the process to determine who?
The outline that Chris was able to locate for me basically describes what the cane's about. There's no process behind it as to how to determine anybody or anything like that.
I think we did have a process though in place. I might.
I'm sure there might have been, but it wasn't in the records.
It's kind of word of mouth.
If you've got it.
No, there was some things that on this sheet, might have it at the house, I'll look it up.
Okay.
Of what the qualifications, if you must say, what they'd be. You know, you had to live in town, you couldn't, I forget all they were, but there were some things, criteria on that list already. So, but I'll bring that in next week and I'll send it to you guys. And that's about it.
Well, it sounds like you're the point person on the cane now.
That's fine.
Okay, there you go. The easiest way to get the assignment is bring up the issue.
That's it.
So Chuck,
All right, let's start with transfer station. So last week, I sat in on a webinar by the state, in the recycling area, and it talked about COVID-19 and what different towns are doing. Good news is what we're doing is consistent with a lot of the towns that are out there. The only thing that came up as, a suggestion that I saw in there was being able to paint a stripe box around each of the compactor openings to give people and remind them about the social distancing piece, so that there's only one person in the box at a time depositing their recyclables or their trash. I did check with the guys down at the station. They still have some yellow paint from last fall. We got paintbrushes, so I told them to lay it out and I'd look at it tomorrow. But I think we ought to paint on the pavement, a box.
There are two different types of paint, I understand, that are used on the roads when they do lines, because when one of them comes up real easy and the other one's more permanent. So I don't know how long this paint will last. We may end up having to look at some better paint.
Well, I mean, if we want to do something really, really good for a long term.
Well, we don't know how, right.
Yeah, I'm looking for a solution. It's like right now.
Absolutely.
And if we want to basically keep this in play, long term, we can do that. We can come up with another solution.
I've been handed by our always on the spot, ready to go office staff here, and it has Super Strike traffic paint. This may be what you're looking for.
I'll take it.
There's about a case out here.
I'll take a couple. Thank you. Thank you, Glenn.
Glenn English is right on that one.
Just ask me where it is.
Okay.
Welcome back, Glenn.
The cut resistance and puncture resistant gloves were ordered, came in, they've been delivered to the attendants, and they were wearing them the other day when I was in there on the weekend. I did get a call from Mark yesterday or the day before. The bottled water unit we have up there's something wrong with it. The water that's in it is turning a funny green color, and when you go to pour water out of it, you're getting chunks of stuff coming out with it. So I'm not sure if we need to replace the entire unit or what.
How does anybody know how old the unit is?
What kind of unit is it?
It's one of the bottled water units. It's like the one you got out here in the kitchen.
So it does have to, I think we get it replaced every year. Have they ever done that there?
No, nothing's been replaced up
Yeah,
there.
because that's a cold plate in it.
And there is such a thing, you have to, when you put the bottle on, you have to clean the top of the bottle.
Oh, stop.
I don't know if people do that. We do that here.
It sounded like that machine has been there for a long time.
Yeah, we've got the water service, so I would think if, Brian, you could contact possibly our vendor and see if we're due for replacements at the transfer station.
Same vendor up there is here.
I would think
Should
so.
be. It should be one vendor for the town. Same one does the library too.
Your billing would tell you, and
Ask them what's in their water that's causing it.
I'll just take it.
No, my guess is it's probably the unit at this point. It's
Yeah.
just so old.
Yeah,
It
there's an
hasn't been.
aluminum cold plate they use to keep the water cold in there.
Yeah.
That calcifies, no matter what kind of water you put.
Yeah. So they've been without water for a couple of weeks. So it's
That's
like
what those chips are.
Brian?
Christine, does the water company deliver water to the transfer station? or
Yes,
does it
and I
come-
have something to add about that. They had that same problem last year, and we brought them a whole new container. We had all these water bottles in the kitchen and storage replaced. And I think what the problem is they have their water cooler in front of a window, and because they're not using it, a lot,
Little algae?
it's
The sun
gathering.
shining in.
Yeah,
that won't hurt.
it's got a little plastic algae problem, so they just may have to relocate.
Shade it.
You have to shade it. There is no room to relocate that
But
particular
we did
building.
go through this last year, and I think that's an ongoing problem, because we've never had that here.
All right. Well, if anything, we might be able to do a half curtain on the window or something to
Yeah,
help shade it.
yeah, that's,
But at this point, I think we need to look at the unit because it's.
Pay one bill for water, right?
yeah, and they take the jugs as they need them here, just like the police.
So they
station.
take the water from here.
Yeah,
Okay, Cahalan here again. Christine, you're absolutely sure they had a replacement unit down
Up there?
oh, yeah, I'm big on that, and I had them take it out, bring in a new one. I had this one replaced, I was on it.
But that's my thing, that sometimes we do things here, you go to another facility and they say, no, it's fine, and it doesn't.
Yeah, because they're only open on Wednesdays. So if those guys are coming any other day than Wednesday, they're not getting in up there.
I think we need to verify. Just,
Well, I remember I was pretty disgusted with the whole thing, and I was on it,
Yeah, and they probably would have brought it here, and Mark would have taken it.
and they would have had to bring it in.
He gets the water here.
And the police station got a new one, I believe, last year, too. They get their water bottles here.
I'll do some follow-up tomorrow,
Please,
and we'll see if we can get that done.
all right?
The on-demand water system's not working up there.
That's
It works like once every 4 or 5 times you turn the hot water on, you actually get any hot water at all. And it's never been replaced. From what I asked Mark, I said, when's the last time anybody replaced it? Because I gotta believe with the garbage well water we have up there, as bad as it is, it's probably corroding the heck out of whatever's in the on-demand unit. So, at this stage of the game, I don't know, we need to get a plumber in there to look at it and replace it, or what we need to do.
Yeah, I'll go in and look at it, but we also think there's no filter in there before that unit,
Right.
which I think we need to put one in if we're gonna tear that unit
Well, I think if
off.
we're gonna do it, we need to do it right, no
Yeah,
question.
put a filter in there.
So you,
I'll look at it, yeah.
Tom will take a look, go down, right?
Okay. The monitoring wells, it looks like the two that we need from the, Christina was able to find the picture of what was there. Unfortunately, with what we've got, I gotta check it, because there's a couple things that were on the top end of the sheet that did not come over. It looked like they were something, remarks that we needed to do something with, but the 2 wells that we gotta add locks are PVC caps. So how do we wanna add locks to a PVC cap?
I don't think you need to. I think as long as they're capped, I'm not sure that the need, but we can ask Jeff Sires, I have to contact about the bill.
Yeah.
We can ask him, like, how,
What the recommendation is for that?
yeah, like, is this just an in general, or is this a must-have item? Because nobody's really, messing with those.
Nope, no,
Doesn't-
it's there.
Yeah.
So I know you mentioned bare spots. Looking at this, and there's brush that's gotta be cleaned, there's piles of sand on one end that have gotta be removed, and there's apparently some kind of a tarp on one lower edge. I don't know if it's a tarp from the covering or another one that's just laying there. Have we contacted whoever's gonna maintain that, and said,
No,
hey,
I've-
let's come up with a plan for this?
I wanted to get that report that you have, of the issues that need to be done,
Okay.
so,
Well, that's actually the visual of the list.
oh, okay. Yeah, and then I'll, talk to our landscape, individual.
Okay. All right. The aluminum can fundraiser trailer that's down there, people are doing a great job on a voluntary basis in separating their aluminum cans out and putting them in there. We did have a resident of town offer to give us the equivalent of between 2 and 3 of those trailer full containers. Apparently they have them on their property, and they've been doing the same thing, saving them, recycling them. But he offered if we come up and get them to basically donate them to the cause, the Historic Town Hall fundraiser. So, Steve Regal is working on that now. The waste oil tank, I did some homework on that last week, and I forwarded some stuff out, pictures out to, Brian, and to get to you guys. And I guess what I'm looking at, and after doing a little bit of the homework, I'm not sure for the kind of money we were talking with a concrete tank and some of the other stuff that we should maybe look at that grant money and purchase a unit. It's a double-walled unit, steel, weather-resistant, lockable, everything. And it would save concrete tank. It would be something that could be moved. It would give us a way to do waste oil pretty quickly. If we get a second grant next year, we could get another one to basically use for contaminated oil. So we have 2 capabilities, but I think we probably ought to take a look at what's there, because the pricing is right in the ballpark of your grant, so.
Part of my concern with these is human error spills, and even with the double wall, if somebody knocks something over on the pouring over pours, spills it. So that was the secondary containment. I think there should be something there. And if we're enclosing the whole thing, we really, I was looking at some of these things, just having the drip pallets and drums on a drip pallet could be all we need, provided there is a secondary containment. I don't know if there's anything else other than concrete, and I think Tom was.
Yeah.
Look,
I'm doing homework on it too.
Yep.
We talked about Chuck. And I was looking at the plastic bins almost, that whole 55-gallon barrels.
Yep.
They come out maybe halfway up the bin, they'll hold enough liquid but they only hold 2 barrels, 55 gallon. I can't find one with 4, because I thought 4 would be a lot better. All I'm finding is 2, they're made out of heavy-duty plastic. They would catch what you were talking about, any spills, people pouring it in or what have you. If someone banged into it, and it did gash it open, it would collect it in the bin. You get 2 of them, put them in there, but they're like $400 and something a piece. So, I don't know if that's another avenue.
We do something. It's like, you know, and I think we ought to have 1 unit for regular oil, 1 unit for contaminated oil.
That's why I was going the 2 and 2.
So we gotta make sure we got the right size
Right.
containment, either separate for each container or 1 container for both units.
If we maintained, a drum unit that we have on a spill pallet, then we could use that for the contaminated, should we have contaminated stuff. And then maybe we should be looking at another unit, like you're saying, Chuck, for good oil. But I think we need some kind of a liner, I think, just because of the human error factor. It's that spill that hits the ground that's gonna be our issue.
Well, that's why when you look at the tops of these, you get the high walls around the intake
Yeah.
nozzle. That one of these containers looked like it was about 1.5 feet square and about 8 or 10 inches tall, and you poured it into the nozzle on the inside of that tank. So, I mean, I guess if somebody's lifting something up and dropping it, but that's gonna happen no matter what.
What about if these were, the unit you're looking at was placed on, say, 2 spill pallets? So that if there was a spill at the top, or, you know.
One of them actually, within one of the pictures, and I forget which company that it was out of the Midwest, actually had an example on their online with it on a spill pallet.
Okay. Why don't we put this into our work session of later then,
Okay.
and we can look at that, because we're gonna try and get a call in from, the zoning enforcement officer at 11:30, just to get an update on where some of the in-process items she's had on her list for a while,
Okay.
where those are, and any other concerns you guys may have. I did ask, Chris, were you able to find the monthly report that Rebecca gave us probably a week ago?
Yes, I believe I gave it to you.
It's in my box, okay, great, we'll grab that before then.
All right, next item. We mentioned last week the new, LCHIP, Historic Resource Project Acknowledgement Form that needed to be signed after you read the 51-page report. Did you read the 51-page report?
I'm gonna be honest and tell you I have not got past page 5.
Okay. Can we get it for next week so I can get this signed?
Yes.
Okay. I will also give you today copies of a contract from Christopher P. Williams Architects to do an architected plan of the first floor layout. So it includes the ADA bathrooms, the stairs and elevator, the restoration of the double doors, the whole bit. They're gonna do it by the hour because they think that's the most cost-effective way to do it. This spells out what it would be with a higher $14,700. When I talked to Norman yesterday, he says it does not think it's gonna go anywhere near that. But he basically, to cover themselves from a contract standpoint, they put it in here with a high, so it's not to exceed scenario. So I will send this to you. I'd like to sign this next week. One of the things that I've learned in going after some of the grants and getting feedback from the New Hampshire Preservation Alliance Executive Director was that we need to make sure we have expert opinion and professional guidance on anything that we're thinking of doing, and this is exactly what an architected plan does. So we're gonna need something in process when I submit that. And to that end, I did submit yesterday the letter of intent to go after an LCHIP grant in 2020 for $165,000 for a project total of $330,000. I should know within a day or two on whether we're successful. I think we will be. I got the approval on it last year in 29 minutes, so I'm thinking it's pretty much the same language. We should get approval this year. And I basically started to do the prep with Grace and with Jen Van Coor. We're gonna basically, the 3 of us will tackle that and we will get that out. The application opens in May. It has to be submitted by mid-June. There's a lot of hoops, very much like what your USDA grant is. There's a ton of hoops we have to go through. Signatures we have to get from different parties with pictures and other things. but we'll take care of that and get that done. The town website review, I actually spent a good portion of time, I probably looked at 75% of the web pages last week on that. And yes, I did find 5 or 6 things that I think are outdated, and can be removed. I'll finish doing that review this week, and I'll get that information over to Teresa. We talked about the list of nonprofits on the town website. She and I talked about where the placement would be, and she said she would get to it. So I have not had a chance to go in since last week to check and see if it's there, but I will do that this week. We received an email from Peniel Environmental that is doing the asbestos review. It's the old place on 33 Old Pound Road for tear down. They took, I think it was either 25 or 35 samples to be sent to the lab. Those have gone. And he did tell me when the report comes back, in the report, it will show there needs to be an asbestos removal in the, I'm going to call it the furnace room area. It's in that basement area of the building. There's apparently a small area where he knows there's asbestos in there, and he'll give us a price to remove that when he sends in the report. We should have the report this week, so I'll have it before next week.
Check on that, if I may, Alan here, is that, I'm assuming that's around pipes. They've got the.
I don't know. He said it was a small area in the, underneath the building, and I've crawled in underneath the building, so the small area is like big enough for a well water tank and a furnace. That's about it. So it's somewhere in that area, and he said it was small.
Yeah.
But he said he would give us a price tag to abate that, and then we'd be good to go. Once the report's issued, we couldn't touch anything for 11 days anyway, because it's got to go to the state, and they've got to receive it and accept the report. So more on that for next week. The cleaning person that we had identified, that we had interviewed, did not pass the background check from a police department standpoint.
I think that ought to be stated with the, non-public.
Right.
Got it? I wasn't going to get into names anyway. Or why. And then, I saw an email this week with the, road grants, that, maybe another opportunity to get some additional planning grants done, but it looked like it was a June date.
Oh, yeah, I'll touch on that if you don't mind, Chuck.
Yeah, go.
You're talking about the, CWSRF again, the stormwater management
Yes.
kind of thing? Yeah. There's, another, they come out in 2 blocks, $30,000 for, the management portion. There's a planning portion, which we went after for $75,000, and that's still available. What we're involved with now, we were fortunate that a lot of stormwater, watershed planning took place with DES on Province Lake, so we were able to overlap 2 departments. Sally Sewell and the group over there, they were helping us so much. That kind of doesn't exist at the moment. If we go after this, we're kind of on our own. However, I did forward this information to Sally Sewell, and I called her, and she wants a follow-up email for me to include some other folks on her side of the department, and that they might be able to coordinate some overlapping efforts with us, which would be, as you guys know, tremendously helpful. How do you even go about this stuff on your own? I don't know. So I am following up on that with an email probably tonight to Sally and some of the group over there. But yes, June 15th is a deadline, and what I was kind of focused on was Pine River Road, the culvert out there. I thought that'd be a good target. It's a failing culvert. It's going to cost us some big money. So that's what I was going to bring to you guys to say. That's my, unless you've identified another.
No, I just wanted to get that one on the record, that
Okay.
I think we ought to go forward with it, but because it looked like there was a tight time frame.
Yes.
You know, middle of June is not that far away, so it means there's some work that's got to be done ahead of time.
That's why I got that. I just about immediately started making contact. So we can work session on those items.
Good. Okay.
Oh, that's it?
Yep.
Oh, okay. I don't know what else is here. So, okay. I've got some stuff in non-public today, some legal items. We've had some ongoing, back and forth with, an attorney again on 91A. I've actually got an email out to Matt, just how much we can discuss in public. I think all of who's requesting what and the attorney probably should be, fair game to discuss here and not hide in the 91A and, yeah, on 91A, on a 91A. I'll follow up in non-public with you guys on where that has led. I have some other, 91A stuff, some employee stuff to probably go into. And we're going to pursue, Gwen's got the information, and I'll probably need to review that to go in again with our attorney on, unknown, property owners unknown, so I don't think I grabbed that information from you last time. You were gonna grab some documents from previous discussions with our attorney so that we can,
Yeah, right,
So-
okay, thank you.
so we don't go down the same
Right.
well of the,
I was able to look at a few of those in the last couple of weeks, and I think 3 or 4 of them, I think 3 of them the town, well, I know for a fact, 3 of them the town, they were deeded to the town. One of them, I have an owner from back in 1913, I don't know what was it.
call them up.
Yeah, I know where he's buried. Send him a letter.
Well, again, then I probably should get together with
So
you
doing
to
a
get
little
that.
more- Yeah, been able to do a little more work on it, and actually working from home, I've just come in May, been great. I love working from home. You just have time, you know, and you have better focus, so you can really hone in on these things. So I have made some discoveries on a few of those properties.
All right, well,
I'll get together on that.
yeah, because I'd like to get that moving so that we can meet the time frames to get it into the auction pool or,
Get it all,
yeah.
get rid of it.
So, let's see, I'm gonna contact, Todd Nason in regards to some of the, landfill updates, concerns with that report. Touched on Sally Sewell.
Which Tom Mason is the landscaper?
Todd Nason, yeah, he's our landscaper, so I'll coordinate with him for properties here. I don't know if anybody noticed that the bridges didn't look too sandy to me, but, you know, it's just something to consider. We probably should clean them off. I don't know if that's something that the fire department should be asked to do again. We've asked them in the past, or if we should bring in a street sweeper,
The
so.
only time we did it was to clean the butt joints out there.
Oh, okay, all right. So, I'm gonna be going around town, obviously, and I think you guys are over the next few days with collecting bags and so forth, so, next meeting, just see if you see parking lots of ours that need to be swept and cleaned, and we'll decide whether to bring in the street sweeper. Then, I was wondering if somebody in the office could arrange to send an email to NRRA, for a resupply of blue bags. I'll go pick them up if, that can be done. They usually give us up to 10 boxes of bags, and we're going through quite a bit, probably because of the way we're handing them out right now, a little like Halloween candy, so they're going quick. We've got 2 boxes left in the shed. Let's see, I had on here weight limit signs to be removed, so that came up already. I do want to call out to, the town of Ossipee. I heard some reports about some financial concerns over there, so I was gonna talk to Matt Sawyer if I can get in touch with him and just see what the Ossipee Recs Department, where we are with that. I mean, we donate $10,000, to that process to be involved in that program. I'd like to know that the program is going on and just what their needs are. I don't know that anything is gonna change, but it's worth asking the question before we send money for a program that may not happen this year. So, I don't know how anybody else feels about that. Then, hazardous waste day was on my list. Chuck, you answered that. Weatherproof boxes, we covered that. Postage machine. I'm kind of on the fence on this, on the waiting. I know that back when Ms. Byrick worked here, she looked into this. It's been going on for years, and I know we're looking to do a little more research to get the numbers down, but I'm just wondering if it isn't better just to get this machine. I think it's you don't own it forever, right? It's a limited
Lease, well, you can do two things.
Okay.
You can lease it or you can buy it. When we talked with the people, actually there's two on the state there, Pitney Bowes, and I can't remember the other one, Gianna.
The other one is what we met with.
Yeah,
I can't remember.
I can't remember the name, but there's
Yeah.
two on the bid list. The one we met with said, if you buy the machine and you keep it for 5 years, you'll probably save a small amount of money by owning it. But you don't get any upgrades.
No maintenance.
Well, maintenance you get when you buy it, but they do the maintenance on the ones that they lease first. So you're always on the bottom of the maintenance list. The recommendation was to lease it over a 5-year period of time. Wynn and I tried to run some numbers looking at the two, and I think at last numbers we thought the town might save $500 a year by having the postage meter, but it wasn't as large a savings as we thought it was going to be initially, because we are now having the tax bills printed, folded, stamped, and sent from Minuteman, which eliminated about 1,800 pieces of mail twice a year. I think that's right there.
Yeah.
So that reduced a lot of pieces of mail. The convenience of it is huge. So if we really can save 500, I think it's worth doing.
Yeah.
The convenience, I mean, I sat and put stamps on stuff when Chris was out, and that's
Brian, I've watched the process for years around here, and I know that there's a disruption in the office flow by going to the post office for things. And I think if we're talking a minor expense to the town at this point, it more than offsets. So I'm willing to try a lease personally, because it saves so much aggravation for the staff. I'm getting odds from everyone.
If someone has to go to the post office, and I'm not sure what we're looking at for a machine, but you get mileage driving back and forth to the post office. So you can add that onto your savings.
There's labor and mileage and
well,
all
post
that.
offices become much more user-friendly of late, because we don't have to drive to the post office to buy postage anymore. We can order it and then put it on the credit card, and they deliver it to us.
Yeah, but that takes weeks. It's not, you would think it'd be a turnaround just like that, not at all.
I-
And there's one post office in the area that I have to call and order special stamp. One person's out, it takes 2 weeks to get the stamps in, then I have to go there and pay. I can't pay over the phone.
And you can't do certified mailers. You have to take it to the post office for certified.
With what, the postage meter?
No, now.
Oh, okay. The postage meter allows us to do those things. Last time I looked, though, there is an internal component to the postage meter that is controlled by the United States Postal Service, and that's the component that loads the dollar and cent mail amount. Last time I looked, when that's getting low, they'll only refill it at a post office. There was a lot of push by a lot of companies to have it reloaded electronically. I haven't looked at it since we started talking about it, putting the budget together last year, so I don't know if that push actually came up, but there might still be a requirement to go to a post office to get the actual meter filled with full money.
That's antiquated.
Randy, I see the chief had a question here.
Oh, it's just a statement, if we're gonna have to go into the absentee ballots, it's gonna save a lot more. Now you're gonna have all the ballots being mailed out.
Well, I mean, I guess at this point, Brian has done a lot of discovery on this, and...
Well, actually, Deanna has done more discovery than I have.
Well, you did a lot of the reporting. But I think this has been kicked around a lot, so, I mean, I just have been getting feedback over the years for this. It seems like a time that we've hit that point, that it's worth the effort. That's just my opinion, given the facts that I've been presented.
If I hear two votes on the board to go ahead and do this, I'll proceed with the best price under the state bid.
Well, and but I just want to ask the other selectmen, where are you? Yeah, no discussion?
I think it's been discussed, Steve, like you
I
said.
had looked at some of the previous work around what it was anyway, and quite frankly, there's an efficiency factor in having it that doesn't usually get well measured in your savings. And that's just when people, you know, I don't care if you have to go in the other room and come in this room and sit here for 3 hours looking stamps and putting stuff on it. It's a case where it's an inefficient process with using individual stamps. It needs to be a machine.
Okay, well, then I'm gonna make a motion that we, enter into the best price lease that Brian will look into, for a, postage machine. And, I make that motion. Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
Tom Hart, second. Any discussion? No, with none. We'll take a, what am I trying to say?
Chuck Fuller, aye.
Tom Hart,
Sid Reader.
Ken Allen, aye. Thank you. Thank you for stopping me. All right, we did something. There we go. Let's see. We have, notice boxes that were built for us by Jack Williams. We're gonna pay him for his materials, and, I don't know if I convinced them to charge us something for time. So you'll probably be seeing an invoice, from Jack Williams, a local resident in town, Brian. So we have 2 brand-new notice boxes. They're in the shed now. If I can find a very tall man with a ladder there, maybe we can get him to, consider it.
Again?
Jack Williams. Oh, nope, nobody said, well, how about Randy? He's put in the last one. Maybe we can work with Randy.
You're looking for a tall person.
That's what I heard.
Please do.
2 volunteers, wonderful, I'm so thrilled. These are, notice boxes to go out in front of the building. We have one up there now. We had 2 others made that are similar in style that will look pretty much like that, the one that was there. So, they have a removable corkboard front and 4 mounting holes in the back. And I'll be happy to work with anybody in our little group here to install. So those are in. Just thought you ought to know that. And, let's see, I was wondering, this may be a little outside the box, may not work, but if we had anybody in town or any local area loggers, perhaps, who have chippers that would be interested in chipping as an option at the transfer station versus burning. I don't know if that's a great idea or not. Deanna?
I'm not sure. You can chip dead stuff? Yes?
Yeah.
Okay.
Because it's all brush. So if we would take brush and chip it and have it removed off-site, they can use it for wood pellets or whatnot, something like that. Maybe that'd be a better option than burning, because we have never established a water line out there for control, and we always have to deal with the ash, and then we have an employee sit out there certain times of the year, and then this thing seems to go on for days of burning. So it's just a thought. Maybe there's a better way to do this, and I don't know if we can find anybody who'd be an economical option or not. But
Might be able to even rent one at the right price.
Yeah.
well, it's, so I just wanted to throw it out there as just an alternative. Brian?
I know there are communities that do it. I live in one of them. They sometimes have difficulty negotiating the guy coming because they don't have enough brush to make it worth his while. So the big problem that they have discovered is having enough area to store the brush to get to a sufficient amount to make it worthwhile to have the guy come chip it.
Okay, because one of the things I've been tossing around and discussing with Ron Evans, and I discussed with other board members, maybe it was last year, was to do some expansion down at the transfer station by taking out a section of trees beyond the burn pile and opening that up for storage, because we have things that just collect. and they're not in any kind of a proper organized location. So if we could get that area opened up, perhaps we could move that burn pile or just have a storage, place for brush, I don't know. Anyway, it's not in the here and now at the moment, it was just something to consider. Is it something worth even considering? So, back to office equipment, video equipment. Brian, any progress? Have you had any opportunity?
No.
Nothing yet? Okay. That's still on your to-do list, I don't, okay.
Yes.
I had heard, perhaps Gwen had an issue with her monitor, the size of the monitor. Maybe that when she gets back in the room, we can ask her what that's about. The general assistance officer, part-time, experience required. Are we advertising, or did anybody get back to us?
I put in a call to Freedom's part-time person, which is full-time in Rochester.
Right.
Went a week, and then got a call back from her saying she was sorry that it had taken her so long, and to give her a call back at a different number. I did that, and it was also a cell phone number, and I sent a text also. Haven't heard.
Okay. Well, I think we have a short window of time for Ms. Spencer to really be a part of this. So I think we probably ought to at least advertise for this position. Should we be able to find somebody, great. But I put this out and, open until filled kind of thing. I just think we need to do something.
We do.
Okay. What else do I have on my...
That's something, I just thought of something, I don't wanna forget, that mirror needs to be put up.
Yeah, well, since there's no traffic at the library, it kind of has been taking a back seat to some other things. But I did stop down and looked at the pole, and it didn't look like it'd be too big of a deal to get up there and remove what's there. Once doing that, we can assess, because this is different, what we're going to need to mount it. I just have to get a few minutes and get down there and start that process. Let's see. I have some thoughts on our operating hours as it stands at the transfer station right now. As like Brian, you had pointed out in that report, we're not looking to furlough employees and stuff like that. We want to try and retain staff to the highest levels and, make it a good job for people who want to keep. But I was approached last year by the transfer station foreman, Mark, about the hours of 4:15 being the cutoff, and so that they can get out of there at 4:30. Initially, that was decided not to do that, but since I've been spending some time down there lately, I noticed on our big sign, that's exactly what it says, to come in by 4:15. And it doesn't say we close the gate at that point in time. So I didn't know if that's something we ought to consider. And I don't have a problem if we stay from, say, on the weekends, 8 to 4:30. But I think if we're going to have somebody stay late, somebody come in early to open up, maybe those are 15 increment, have somebody come in 15 minutes early, leave 15 minutes sooner at the end of the day, and just stagger that, so those things are there, and get the hours to be an 8.5-hour day on the weekends and a 6.5-hour day on Wednesday, and see what we can do about that. Because right now we're not doing a lot down there. I mean, people are coming in, they're kind of self-service, and I think to get the hours in line with what they should be, it might be financially beneficial to us at this time, because we don't want to furlough employees, but I think we're going to have some cash flow issues, so maybe tightening up the operating hours might be a consideration. I don't know if you guys have any thoughts on that. Want to take some time to think about that? It's fine.
Yeah, I'd like to, no, just Chuck, I haven't thought about it at all.
Yeah.
But I think it's worth taking a look at. in light of the fact that we may have some revenue shortfalls coming up at mid-year, so.
Okay, all right, good. Something, Tom, any thoughts?
No, on that, yeah, well, Les, you brought up that sign where it says 15 minutes.
Yeah,
Next sign up there.
yeah.
Speaking of that big sign,
The guys put that in years ago. Be nice.
I don't know who they're expecting to read it, the way it's facing.
Yeah.
It just needs to be facing so when you're pulling up, you can actually see it. Because right now, you're facing
Well,
towards the compactor.
I know exactly what you mean.
I think if they had some hours, extra time, whether they're not putting the bags out or whatever, I don't know if they do or they don't. I'm just putting it out there, a couple of shovels, move a pole, the sign.
I think you'd have to dig the whole thing out to move both poles and reposition. I know what you're saying, because it doesn't face the gate, and I always notice that. But I think when that was installed, they had the little, shed where you would come in and stop and be verified. And if you were looking, out, it was probably aligned as part of the operating process. It probably worked well then. But I know you pull up to the gate.
It's not a big deal, it's just something I noticed and
Yeah.
brought it up, I figured I'd throw it out there.
Well, we can talk about that. I don't know how pressing that is an
No.
issue in the greater scheme, but, sure.
It's there, you might as well be able to read it.
So, let's see, we talked about a few of these things. I'm whittling down my list. Some of these things are for non-public, unfortunately. Old Pound Road, Chuck, you touched on the, asbestos report, and, I know last week I was hoping that we could have a discussion, or a decision actually, on the possibility of burning the structure, and I don't think anybody's married to burning it, but we do have a contract with the demo company. I think this complicates things. I think the wires being so close to this building complicates the issue for me. I think the potential of polluting a stream behind the building is an issue for me. Also, the vegetation around the property. I'm not feeling that this is the place for a training to burn. Chief Burbank stated they could use it as a training with the smoke machine if the building is still there at that time, because now you have the COVID-19. So assembling a bunch of firefighters to actually do a training, is that still kind of a problematic issue, Chief?
Still got a limit.
So I'm thinking we get the report and we can get this asbestos removed, maybe it's just best at this particular time we move forward, but those are my thoughts. That's kind of where I was coming down on this. I don't know where you guys are, so I'd like to hear from you fellas. Do you want to hold off? Do you want to consider this more with?
I think the building needs to come, I think the building needs to come down as soon as it can come down. I don't want to, if the health crisis hadn't hit us and we could use it for training for smoke machines or something like that, great. But because of social distancing requirements and whatever at this point, I don't want to have that building sitting there until the end of the summer, early fall. I want to get rid of it now and get it out there on the auction block to see if we can get it back on a tax rolls.
Tom?
Yeah, I'm with Chuck on this too. You also, we just need to get rid of it as soon as possible.
Okay.
Till the other ones crop up, I'm sure.
Yeah, I think
Down the
that's,
road.
I think you're right. All right, I guess then, that's gonna be where we're gonna go with this. Randy, are you, is that any issues with that decision on your end?
No, because we could use it for smoke, whatever. The only question I would have is you talked to Denny, because there was a talk about, doing forcible entry and stuff like that, practice attack. If he was planning on recouping money with the doors, and we couldn't really force doors open.
Chuck, any thoughts on that?
He's basically, as Brian said last time, his contract says he's removing the entire building. He's gonna push in the foundation, so this is not a hole. And he takes everything away and he recycles it, and I'm sure part of that is he's making money on it. There's nothing in his contract that says pull out doors because we wanna do something else with them. So, he's given us a price based on his view of the building the way it is today.
Okay. Well, I guess that along with you don't know what time frame you'd be able to put a crew together to do the training. I think with just because so much has already been done, you know, contracts signed and stuff, we probably just, it's just not the building for it, unfortunately. We'll try to coordinate with your department in the future, should another one come available. And I know I did talk to you way back, I don't know, a year or so ago. We did have the discussion initially about burning it, I think, before this all came around again by members of your department. All right, I guess that's our decision. As soon as we get the asbestos cleaned out and the report in and all our ducks in a row, that building's gonna come down. I think that is all I have. See, Dropbox. Oh, Gwen, actually, did I hear something about the monitor that you're working with is kind of small or something?
Well,
We had some larger ones for a while, maybe they would give us,
some here? I think we've used all the ones that were given to us.
okay.
Yeah, used or they're coming on their life.
Well, no, we,
There you go. Ooh, could I look into that?
oh, yeah. Yeah, then, is there a request that you, like, would,
Just wait.
I know you're nowhere near my,
Money in the, I just don't wanna.
I know you're nowhere near my age, but a bigger monitor is quite helpful as you get older. Not that you're there.
One of the,
You know, when my nose prints are all over the,
one of the things that you discussed when we bought the refurbished computer just recently
right,
is when the COVID-19 ends, that is going to become WINS.
oh, that is.
That was the plan.
That's the remote unit presently being,
And we just keep the refurbished unit in case one of the units in the office died, we'd have that one. And the screen will become Gwen's screen, which is a much bigger screen than she's got now. And her screen would just be a spare.
okay.
If you want to change that, that's
Well,
fine with me, but that was the discussion you had.
I've made plenty of decisions that I was not afraid to go back and say maybe that wasn't the best one. So in an effort to revisit this a little, Deanna having off-site capability is not a bad thing here now in the future, or is that something you want out of your house? It, you know, when the COVID ends.
Oh, when COVID ends, I want it out of my house.
Want it out, yeah. Yeah, see, that's probably a key thing. And,
We don't know, go to, who knows?
right,
Yeah, nobody knows what this is gonna lead to.
and
I
that's,
thought Westy was getting new monitors or something.
yeah, well,
Yeah, but that's probably my budget, that would come.
Right.
yeah, that discussion was because of how effective it is for what you do in your office, having dual screens. It just makes your job easier and more productive.
If that's the case, Westy's monitor
Could go,
is larger than Gwen's, so we would move, if I'm gonna buy the two monitors for Westy,
yeah.
they're gonna be the same size. I'm not gonna have one with
Oh,
small.
come on, you know how, mess her up. Change the font all the time, the pages don't stay the same.
So, we would replace that one with two new ones, and that one then would become, but
Okay,
that's a relatively new screen. I believe we purchased that.
It actually been working out here a little bit, Mr. Vinci.
I'm pretty sure we did, because we had one there that.
is that monitor?
We had one there that the side was fading away on,
Yeah,
remember?
that's exactly.
And we
Yeah,
replaced
sure.
it.
And I with the, right,
So that's, the one Westy has now is a relatively new screen, because we bought that rather quickly, not too long after I got here, because the one she had was fading away down
Oh,
the side. And it was dying slowly, so we bought that monitor and put it up for Westy. Shortly thereafter, we bought the two,
right.
the Deanna. And we need to do the two for Westy, and if we did that, I'd buy two identical so that they're the same fonts, and move the larger one that she has is fairly new into Gwen.
Well, if everybody is on board with that, and if your budget doesn't cover it, you know.
I think it should come out of our budget for equipment anyway.
Well, that's what I was,
Because we're taking one and bringing it in for ours anyway.
well, that's what I was gonna say. If if we have to shuffle the deck a little here, this seems like a win-win for both offices. As long as Deanna and Wesley are on board with that, maybe it makes your job a lot easier from what I, you know, standing behind you, seeing what the effect was, so.
I will take care of that.
Well, it's to the board. The other gentlemen,
I'm good with it.
It's a more efficient way of running the office.
okay, yeah, so perhaps that's the thing to do then, and take care of that.
I'm gonna look at prices because we now have the agreement with Linhart and that they're supposed to be giving us good prices now. They may not be able to touch the state bid, we'll look at both.
Okay, well, we will leave that with the office staff to do the details, but I just wanted to make sure that, since I heard about that was a bit of an issue, I'd like to see that gets fixed, remedied. Thank you, everyone. I believe that's everything I had on my list today. So, with that, I was going to say, I don't believe we have any other old or new business. So I was gonna invite, the police chief, fire chiefs, do you gentlemen have anything to report from your departments, or anything you'd like to share?
No,
Oh,
they're still keeping busy. I know Ian's running around, the call-out times have been less this past week, so things are starting to calm down. I think now that everyone's used to staying home with each other. We've had a little bit of a spike there, arrest stats went up over the past couple of weeks. I think so far in the past month, we've arrested almost as many as they did the entire year last year. So, but that's to be expected with people stuck at home with each other. And times it's still gonna go up with when people really start struggling financially and emotionally stuck at home. With the various resources going down, that's gonna be expected, but I think this week things have calmed down a little bit.
Okay, on your end, do we have any news when you're gonna, take your law package or your the PT portion, or?
Looking at towards the end of, either the end of May or into June, which will still be a lot faster than if I would've had to do any of the academy. But so far, it's still just one PT test and then one written exam and fully certified.
Oh, well, so what's the holdup with the PT scheduling? Is there some kind of?
Nothing, it's one of those, I have to do the written exam as well, so, and I have that time frame. They both have to be completed, so I'm just, while I'm studying, giving myself more time to prepare for it. There's no point in rushing one when it's not gonna matter until the other one has to be done. Anyways.
So there's,
We're better off having him pass the test, the written test, and having time to study for it, pass it.
oh, sure.
Having to have him go to the academy each time they teach one of the modules.
Yeah.
So it'd be much better to have him have that extra time to study.
I'm looking to have it all done by the end of June,
Okay.
which would still be months ahead of if it would have been the academy.
All right. I just, you gotta take the time that you need to get it done. And the flip side of that is having you uncertified has certain limitations, right? So, it's a balance, but that's.
Well, the main thing I'm waiting on now is the bulletproof vest to show up, which I'm sure COVID's pushed that back, because I can, go out there with Ian in uniform to
Right.
do normal patrol duties with him, but I need that vest to show up, because I'm not gonna go out there in a uniform with no vest and risk that kind of safety concern. But once that shows up, I will be out there in uniform with Ian, patrolling the same times he is doing the work.
Oh, yeah, no, absolutely. We want you,
As soon as that shows up, I'll be out there.
we want you properly dressed.
I can do all that stuff with him as well, so, once that shows up, I will be out there patrolling with him, as well as studying and preparing for the academy.
Okay. Just looking for an update. Thanks.
Yep.
Thanks, Ryan. And Chief, Burbank, anything on your? Oh, yeah?
Yeah, almost as long as you.
Oh, God. You have you have about 15 minutes, and then some people are gonna take a break, but you can keep talking to me.
Now this COVID-19 brings up the point that we should have a shower. Right? We always should have had it before, because now that there's citizens and everything in structure fires, now they're telling you after a fire, either decon your gear right there, or take it off. You're not supposed to put it in your vehicle, because now you're condemning your vehicle and get to the station. Clean it. Which brings up, we need a better wash and dry there as well. Because it's supposed to be stainless steel drums, not supposed to agitate, supposed to spin. Well, we have that, we've been using, but it also carries the gear faster while you wash it. That was cheap. So those are just a couple of things that with the COVID-19 come up, brought to our attention. Showers is better cleaning facility.
Okay, so before we go too far on your list, the showers. Are you talking, do you have a floor plan and space available to install?
What we would do is take the office out where it is now, move to the back, because we were supposed to put an addition on the back. We could put the office in the back corner for now, make that office into the showers. That was the game plan. But the wash and dryer, probably make that maybe like a wash and dryer shower type thing. Get the, move the wash and dryer out of one of the restrooms. The ballrooms, they give you a little more room also for the shower.
And all your tie-ins for your, drain pipes are all right there, so.
Correct. The other thing too is if we do it for COVID-19, he would prepare.
And have you looked at pricing for your, machines that you're looking for?
Wash and dryer?
No.
Yeah, $5,000.
$5,000.
Maybe approved the industrial, right here, so like I said, getting stainless steel.
Keep your grant list, open, as well as the, whatever FEMA can provide, but, okay.
Speaking of grading roads, we have an individual down on the Bailey Road who's had a setback in our parking. We've been going down there quite a bit to assist in both Bailey and Stevens Road, grading.
Stevens just happened, I believe.
Bailey Road was graded last night, I was there.
You're on Bailey Road?
Yeah.
She goes out and checks the roads for us. Christine Holbrook. She's the Director of Office Operations. Call her the do. She does it all.
Right, now, so, we have another individual who has brush concerns. She's too old to drive, she can't get rid of it, so I thought we'd show up with my truck and my dump trailer, put on it all the transfer station, see people having objections. She can't get there.
Chuck, you have any thoughts?
This is Chuck. Do you know how, is it big volume? Because I was just talking to Mark Sunday, and we gotta push back and get ready to burn what's there because it's almost full.
Well, this would be till the ground hardens up, so they're gonna tell you,
Okay.
I'd say probably would be till the middle of May.
Oh, we should have a solution by then.
And it's not, a big, it could be one dump trailer, not be it. It's really not that much there. It's in a position where you can't burn it, so if you, your house here, all he goes to house, that store has a respiratory problem, or it can't get smoke.
Yeah, we should be okay with that.
Yeah.
We're up to our third COVID case in the town. You know, I noticed in your syllabus here, you're not doing inspection ordinance, stated requirements.
We can branch out. We just haven't done a whole bunch of research on it.
For inspection ordinance.
You have it in,
I wrote one up,
oh, lovely. We look to you for these things.
so. In this inspection ordinance, I took the list that's already in, NFPA 101, like safety code that requires inspections. I added the two that aren't in there, which we need in this now. I did not reference 101 like safety goal for the purpose of this. If you go to one of these two I've added, they're gonna say it's not in one. So that, if we left out completely, it just takes the town after the dam requires an annual inspection, list all the businesses and failure, result in $500. If you go down and find one, I just threw it in because the state did suggest putting the monetary fines before they do it anyway. And you gotta put it big enough that they will do it.
Now, as part of an inspection, do you have any, and I don't know if this is necessary, but do you have any criteria that should be adhered to for your inspection, so people are forewarned?
I have a auxiliary dwelling unit checklist. Get checklists from the state on schools and any childcare. On that one, we go checklists. Basically, the two that we're concerned about, no, we can have done because we did get in there a couple times. They went to fighting us now.
Okay, well, so, Mrs. Chuck, so a checklist like that with one or two of them that you're using as a guideline, could we post those on the website? So somebody says, hey, what do I do to make sure it's got ready to go? They will do it, or do we just want to say, based on your business, you're responsible?
Well, depending on which building it is, you have different criteria.
Okay.
Residential care is not that intense, I'm gonna say, as would be the apartment buildings or the motels. Because they're the motels and apartment buildings where there are more than 2 stories, they have to have exit requirements and stuff like that.
Well, I guess the point being, should we have something that really describes what's expected is, and would be covered in an inspection, so that if you went there, you come to my place and I say, Randy keeps changing the rules because there's nothing written down, you know what I mean? I don't know if that's done other places, if there's a certain criteria or not.
I can change it. The authority has jurisdiction.
Well, there's a certain amount of an expectation, I think, you know.
Yeah, we try to come up with something. Apartment buildings and hotels have different criteria. Then you have children dwelling units, daycares, lodging homes.
All right. Well, we add that into our work session when we're covering false alarms and stuff for the police and fire, and see how we can make some progress on that with what you brought us. So that's great, thank you.
So far this year, we have a fire alarm.
Oh, yeah? Nice. Anything else?
No.
Okay.
Would you like this?
Yeah, well, you were gonna sit in on the work session, I believe, correct?
Yeah.
Okay, wonderful, then that will be discussed then. I guess we have, all of our office staff is here, Deanna from the town tax collector's side. Does anybody have issues, that you need to discuss or would like to discuss?
And the non-public.
You have a non-public, okay. Then that's probably where we'll end up unless somebody has anything else. All right, so, I guess we're going to take a break and then we'll be back to go into the non-public. So we'll adjourn the public session for now and, take some time off, about 15 minutes. Actually, we have to come back. Why don't we just take a break, because it's quarter after, right, 1/2 past, we have to talk to the zoning officer. So, I'm getting ahead of myself with the non-public.
Yep.
So, why don't we take about a 15-minute break, and at 11:30, we'll come back and speak with our zoning officer. That's it. Take a break. We're back. It's 11:30. That will be on that. And
Although we're waiting for Rebecca, if there's any other business that we overlooked, I guess now would be a good time to bring it up. There's something for Glenn here to follow up on about, Jonathan Babin sent, back in February, that we're supposed to get some kind of an update from the solar company at the school. And, I guess she'd probably be the one to follow up on whatever is needed, whether it's been supplied or not. I'm gonna say that on the MS 232, not having a whole lot of time to review that before we crunched time and sent it in, I didn't sit down and go over every item. So when I thumbed through it later on, I did have one thing that kind of jumped off the page at me, Brian. It was 4313 Bridges, and it has $601,000 on there. And I think that Articles 25 and 26, maybe only one of those should have been there. I think we've got an additional $300,000 that was put in that, or maybe that's the way DRA does it.
I agree with you, DRA did not.
Okay, well, I thought it might be something like that, because it makes perfectly good sense, but that it shouldn't be there, so that's not how those things run.
That's because, I can't remember the number, but one of them, the one that dissolved the trust fund for the municipal building, meant the next one, because that passed, the next one didn't pass. It didn't get covered. DRA says you're still gonna show the money, even though they didn't vote to use it. Made no sense to me whatsoever.
How they figure out that what goes out, the information that comes out of these forms, so sometimes it's so contradictory. But all right, I figure it gave us another $300,000 window of finances, so great. We've got coverage, spend away. Let's see, we have, no, not yet, because we didn't, we just took a break, so I don't think we have to. Somebody will catch us on something, you know, someone's going to have input. Yeah, so when Rebecca calls in, I guess the biggest things that I was interested in finding out with is where we are with the, junk, unregistered junk cars that she was going to be pursuing last year. I think it's probably hitting that point. And then there was the cabin in the wetlands in a setback that's still ongoing. And if she doesn't call soon, perhaps we'll call her.
What?
Yeah,
Can we call her?
sure.
I did let her know that, worst case, we'd call. But it's been a while since we've seen Rebecca around here, so it'd be nice to get an update and, a report on what's going on. Has, our budget committee chairman been in contact with you recently, Brian? Who touched the nerve?
Yes, as recently as about 6:30 this morning.
Trouble sleeping, has he?
Maybe he's back in town.
wanted me to buy a book through the municipal association electronically. And
Oh, hi, Rebecca. She's here, so I don't know if she has the ability to speak to us yet.
Maybe 1 second.
1 second.
Where is
So he's buying a book.
anyway, I've purchased it, but you have to do it by invoice, and they won't give it to you until you pay the invoice.
Hello, I'm unmuted
There you are.
Yeah, you are.
here. I'm here. Sorry for the delay. My landline which has a better signal, but I realized that it's an out-of-state call, which I don't have out-of-state calling on my landline. So I'm back on my cell phone, which may or may not be.
Okay, well, hopefully you can hear us, or okay.
I can hear you fine. So what can I
Lovely.
do for you, gentlemen?
Well, I would ask you about that out-of-state line, but I'm not going to. So, I thought you lived in state. No, we were just, go ahead, Rebecca.
I was just going to say the conference line that you're using is actually an out-of-state phone number, and it's not a toll-free number.
Oh, okay.
This service does not offer a toll-free number.
Right.
Right,
Getcha.
and I to use that service, I need to have out-of-state calling for my telephone, and I don't, because I don't use my landline for out-of-state calling. So
I've got you now.
that's
Perfectly
Yep.
good.
Just have it for her cell phone.
yeah. Okay. Anyway, so here I am.
Yeah, no, it's been a while since we've seen you around the office, so we thought we'd just check in with you, see how business is going and how things are functioning from afar. And,
Okay.
thanks.
Things are doing just fine from afar. There doesn't seem to have been any demand for face-to-face office visits. I've taken quite a few phone calls that have been referred to me, either through email or they've called the selectman's office or the town clerk's office, who have kindly alerted me via email of a client who needs a telephone call, and I've called them up from home on my cell phone. So I don't feel that there has been any detriment to the business, the services that we've been providing. Business is slow, but I'm working 2 or 3 days a week, each week, and have been since I was staying at home. I am not having any problem processing applications. Gwen and Christine have been great about forwarding property cards to me as needed. I've got to say that if I had access to the Avatar database, the minimal amount that the public has access to in the hall, that would be helpful for me. It would mean less work for the ladies in the office, but that's not that much of a burden. And things are very slow. So far, I have yet to hear from anyone whose property I'm not familiar with, which says something about how well I know the town, and also how much what we are now seeing and have been seeing is repeat applications for RV permits, for porches on buildings that were previously approved for me for something else. And so there's not necessarily a need for a site visit. I mean, I've never done site visits for RVs that are in the same place that they've been in previous years and I've issued permits for, because it's just be a waste of everybody's time and money to pay for gas for me to drive around and look at something that's in the same place it was last year. So it's pretty slow. I mean, I gave you my report at the end of March. I assume you saw that. And since then, I actually haven't had, let's see, there was a discussion about a driveway permit that it turned out I had already issued a town permit passed under a previous owner. I'm in the process of helping somebody else out with a proposed ADU down on Wilkinson Swamp Road. And once all that paperwork is in, I'll decide whether I need to do a site visit or not. Big lot, so it may be just fine. And otherwise, I'm mostly answering questions for people about properties that they're thinking of buying and want to know what they're able to do on it. And those are the kinds of questions that I've answered over the years in the office, or by email, with a realtor or something like that. So I would say that things are going pretty smoothly, and that there's no need to open up the zoning office in advance of any state directives about opening up for services.
Okay. I guess then I was looking to get some updates on 3 items on your monthly report then. Is that all right?
Okay. Yeah. Let me pull out my folder and pull out my report, and then I am able to respond directly. Okay. I've got both pages of the report in front of me now.
Okay. I was looking on the back page. You have an item on here that has listed 2 dwellings. It's just a what's up item from February 25th, maybe. So on 2020 is the initial contact, and a what's up on 2025.
Right, and that's one thing that I have not done that I should have gotten to in March, and in fact did not get to with all the sort of uproar of all the changing ways we were doing everything. I need to do the follow-ups to that and to a couple of what's up letters that were done in late February. So that's on my actually on my to-do list for this week is follow-ups on what's ups that I haven't had a response to. And I've been giving people a little more latitude simply because it takes a little bit longer for people to get information out and make decisions and stuff like that. There's a lag time in me hearing from either Gwen or Christine as to whether a correspondence has come into the office. But I do have that one. That one was one that was alerted from assessing that had to do with the fact that there were two addresses listed on that property when they cross-checked against the school list. The school list, the school enrollment list listed 2 different addresses on the same lot for kids enrolled in the school, which would seem to indicate that they were using two structures or apartment or whatever on the same lot as a separate address, and we didn't have any record of it being done that way. And so I have not done that in ordinary course of events. I mean, that's a good catch on your part. Ordinary course of event, I do follow-ups on those things a month later, and that's where my system's fallen down a little bit, I'll be quite honest, because even though I've got the working lists here, I often do it physically by going through my files in the drawer and going, okay, here are those 5 letters that I sent out, paper clipped at the top of their folders, and it's time to send up a follow-up to that. So I'm going to get on that this week and do the secondary follow-up to that and to the ones that are up above that actually had a secondary follow-up that actually now need a NOV. Need to double check with the office to make sure that a letter hasn't come in. Is it Gwen that's there in the meeting with you or Chris?
We have both Chris and Gwen and the entire staff from the adjacent offices here. So we're all here. We even have police and fire at your beck and disposal.
Okay, so here is the question, just to double check before I do any correspondence. You all have been keeping me up to date with any phone calls or any mail that has come into the mailbox, right? So I can assume that I have not gotten any responses to top letters or notification letters that I have sent out.
You are correct. There are no new notices. Right.
There's no responses from anybody. Okay, well then I can just take that. I can just take that in hand from here, and follow up and do a response and get those out this week.
Okay, because I'm looking and I'm assuming you're focusing on the 4 properties that are 12-3-19 from the initial contact. They're all lumped together there, all under what's up.
Yep.
Okay.
They got what's up in January, and they got what's up in February, and mea culpa, they didn't get what's up in March. The system failed me at that point, so now I will do them now, and the 4 that are up above are actually notice of violation at this stage, because this is their 3rd letter. The Mahoney one is just they probably got a handwritten what's up, which I don't have in front of me because it would be in the file. Heard from them. I will just do a type letter that will get recorded in the computer. So the technique I use, there's actually 4 stages of letters. The first one is a form that is filled out and photocopied and clipped to the file. And I don't have a record of it in the computer necessarily. I just have it on my work list, and that's what the Mahoney one is. And then when I don't get a response from that, I start letters in the computer. So for the ones up above, I actually have my computer with me, and I have the copies of the 2 letters that I've sent. So I don't actually technically need the file. I can do it without. But I mean, the other thing that is possible is I could just take a trip over to my office, not open up office hours, but take a trip over, with sanitizer and all that kind of stuff, and get the stuff out of the files I need to do and review that. I've just been putting that off because, quite honestly, I wasn't feeling like doing the associated travel gas station fill the tank stops along with that. I'm considered a high risk category. I'm over 70. So it's like, much as I can stay home, the better.
Well, we understand. Obviously, that's why we're doing the things the way we are. But again, we were just following up just to see where we were, not to pressure you into coming in or doing anything you shouldn't be. We just wanted to follow up.
Yeah, well, I appreciate that, and I do want to make sure that that the amount of service that we're providing and the follow up that we need to do for standard enforcement is done. So let me give a thought to how much of this I can manage from here, or whether I actually need to take a trip in. I mean, we're a couple of weeks away from stay at home being lifted, and I know a couple of them have actually set a date and then extended it. So the question is whether I've got the materials I need here at home to keep going, or whether I should make and get more stuff. But I'm keeping on top of the daily stuff. It's the long-term stuff that you have brought to my attention that may need better follow-ups.
And on that better follow-up or things that I thought we were following up with, we have 2 on the list to go over, and that's the one that's from, about a year and a half ago, the top one on your report list, which is 347 Green Mountain Road with the cabin that's out in the wetlands in the setback. Have you...
That's in Matt's hands.
It is. Okay, that's what I needed to know.
Yep, that's been officially moved on to Matt. And I don't think I said that in this report, but I may have said it in the earlier report, but maybe it's not, well, in notice of NOV, I should, why don't I make a note that for the April report, that it's at Matt. That way it's clear that it's moved from, on to him. Cause I didn't make that clear, even though we've done the NOVs and everything. So that one, and the other is, the other thing, of course, would be, the junkyard list that I need to get going on,
You got to my next one.
Yep. Okay,
Yep,
so what we're talking about, we got three, let me get clear, I put notes on what you were expecting. It's the outstanding, what's up, ENOS, which was, I will check back with Matt, on that. And then the third one is the junkyard. That's the stuff to move forward on, and there shouldn't be any problem with doing that. The actual application permitting process is pretty quiet at the moment.
Okay, yeah, the junkyard unregistered cars, I mean, as we've gone around the town and other people have, there's a considerable focus on some properties once the leaves were gone and the snow was gone. So, yeah, you know how that goes, right?
Well, what would be super, I mean, I've got a couple of key properties, like the Gray Fox Road one list, and we talked about a process. What would be helpful for me and would save me trying to drive all however many miles of road there are in Effingham is to just shoot me an email,
We'll compile a list with
one of you.
Yeah, we'll compile a list of the known properties then.
Super,
That's what you're looking for,
super,
right?
because I've got some on my list, and I can draft the press release we talked about doing, the announcement that this is what we're doing, and I'm going to put it on it's going to be actually the focal point of this year's zoning postcard, this is the action that we're taking, that there weren't enough changes in the zoning ordinance to make a big stew about it, and it makes more sense to make the postcard really wake people up as to something different that's going on. But compiling the list of properties that then we pursue after we maybe step one with the postcard and step two with the press release. Step three would be going after everybody. And so that gives us time to assess. But my feeling is that the most diplomatic and politically correct way of doing it is to have as complete a list as possible and notify everybody at once, so that there's no sense that we are picking on this guy over on that road or this lady over on that back street. That we have actually come up with 15 or 20 or however many it is properties that really don't follow the rules, and now you're on this list, and you all get the same letter, and unless we get a response on how you're going to deal with it, I don't know what the next step is. We're going to call out the lawyer or print your name in the newspaper or whatever the board decides, but providing, helping me assemble the list would be a huge. All of you drive around Effingham a lot more than I do at the moment.
Yep, we'll make sure there's an effort to record the biggest offenders and start there. With that said, I don't think we have anything else. I don't for you, except the ongoing question of advertised access for you is
right.
What do we know what the fundamental problem is in establishing access for you to property cards? Is it just the property cards that you need?
It's there needs to be a way that I am allowed remotely to go into that. And now that, I did it remotely for a while when I was in the back office. But I was actually on, the local, I was hardwired, into the server, as it were, in a way that I just needed to have access. What we're talking about is an ability to do it from a remote spot, which, technically what that involves. I think Brian is accessing it remotely, correct?
Brian, are you accessing the system remotely? Yes, he is.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. So there is a way to access it remotely. For me, there would probably be 3 items. One, allowing me to access it remotely, but I probably don't get the level of access that Brian does. I get the level of access that's on the computer that's in the hallway. And then the next issue is, for me, is a software issue at my end, because it is a PC program, and so I need the software to access it. But I would have to take responsibility for that. The IT guy that we had up in Maine had set up my laptop to access it before. And then that access no longer worked. And then Brian said, well, we're not allowing remote access anymore. And Brian set it up so that I could access it on the desktop that was out back there, rather than off my own laptop. And again, it's more convenient now, but that's not the biggest deal. The question is whether, there's reason to say that the level of access that is provided at the station outside the selectman's office, and this is tossing it back into the selectman's lap. Would you perhaps consider allowing the level of access that is there at the station outside the selectman's office be available publicly, as some other towns in Carroll County has done, which means that you don't need to set me up with a particular access. You set up an access through the town website to get to that level of avatar, and I would use the same access. And it would also mean that...
I don't know, that's what the particulars, what that would, entail financially or anything else.
The level of remote access that you get would be the level of access that you have on the computer in your office. You would get no greater access or less access. All you do is wind up working as if that computer was sitting in your living room at home.
Right.
That's what you do.
That's the only
Rebecca! Hold on for a second. Let me finish.
Okay, sorry.
Has to be left on, so we have to convince everybody else that's using that computer not to shut it off, or you have no access. Now you can go. I'm done.
Okay, so here is what I'm saying. Whether we're talking about the computer outside the selectman's office or the computer in the back office, which is the one I used.
The computer in the back office is what I'm talking about.
Okay, it doesn't matter. Both of those, the access is limited to the same thing. All I can get is the property card. What I am saying is that there are towns in Carroll County that allow that level of access to the public electronically. That if you are Joe Blow Realtor and you want to look up a property card...
Becca, we don't think that that's free. It comes with a price, and I don't think
unless it was free, we're probably not going to do that. Our focus is on getting you what you need, and if that's,
Okay.
something we can do, we'll be happy to do that.
And Brian will look into that,
Okay.
Rebecca.
Okay, all right, because it could be access to either the one out back or the one out in the selectman's office, whichever one. And I'm only saying the other thing because I know if you understand that it's not free, I can understand not wanting to address it. I just know in terms of what we provide for the public, that is a reasonable next step to be looking at. Simply because allowing that access, is a good thing. So finding out what it costs is not a bad idea.
Yeah,
But I know that's not my,
look at that.
not my department. I know it's not my
We can
department.
look at that. But,
Okay.
So, as long as we've covered everything, we were gonna let you go, because we're up against the lunch hour here now, and I think I'm looking at some faces around here, we're occupying their lunch tables.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, thank you very much for giving me this opportunity to check back in. I appreciate it. You've given me a little push in a couple of areas. And experienced as I am at working from home, which I did for many, many years for the theater, it still sometimes takes a bit more push to turn your living room back into an office at moment's notice. So, I will keep going.
Well, good to speak with you. We're glad you're doing well. Everything's good. And, maybe we'll check in with you next month and look for an update.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. All right. Thank you very much. You all stay safe. Bye-bye.
Yep, take care. Oh, bye-bye. On that note, do we want to adjourn from public session altogether or go right into a work session with Randy, on the false lawn? Where are we? Because we brought him here for this. Poor guy.
Yeah, I don't mind eating lunch in the office. Yeah. I don't care about.
Yeah, do what you gotta do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, do what you gotta do.
Oh, some of the others of us would like to eat lunch, so I mean.
We'll move the mirror. You got a whole table back. All right. Okay, then, I guess maybe we should just go into the work session since we have Randy here, people here, and then we can follow up with any non-public issues after that. Good with that, everyone?
Good.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, let's try and, proceed with that. We'll move all our paperwork. Take 5 minutes to get your ducks in a row if you need them. Shuffle in, shuffle out, staff. Oh, Gwen.
Yes.
You remember this, do we need to follow up with any of that? Solar array?
Oh.
It kind of made I mentioned something to Teresa about it. She said, she contacted me back, and I said, that was really just for us in here. I don't know what we need to do,
Well,
anything.
Yeah, we got it covered. Jonathan, we got the contract between the school district and Barrington Power, which I forwarded to Jonathan. And I do think the guy at Barrington Power I'm sure the school district mentioned about taxation to him once they got a request for the contract. And it seems the guy at Barrington Power is trying to reach out to us about how to tax the solar panels. Have you heard anything from him yet?
Well, we're not about taxing the solar panels, we don't tax them.
Well, it depends, because,
You have to fill out a form and submit it.
well, this is a lease situation, and they don't own the land, so we're not sure how that's gonna play out.
That was the part of it, that's why I brought that back around to you.
The other thing is it's a profit-making proposition for the people installing the panels. Because they're going to accept the
Gotcha.
tax credits, and that's a profit for them. So therefore, it is taxable.
Very good.
We gotta work with the assessor.
Okay,
Determination about how that plays out.
so you'll follow up on that then, or?
Yeah, well, Jonathan has all the information, because it was gonna be a pickup for the spring, because the building permit had been pulled. But as of yet, to my knowledge, there's been nothing done down there, and the gentleman, emailed, Brian told him to put together something and send it to us, the gentleman at Barrington Power, who's concerned about how we're gonna tax.
He hasn't put it together and emailed it yet.
Right, he hasn't emailed him anything, so we're still not sure.
Gotcha. You're
But
in
it is,
limbo.
the school district leasing the land to the solar power company, and the solar people generating electricity and selling it back to the school district. And I don't know if this, how that works with like the utilities in the area, or, so we gotta kind of just keep an eye on it and see. But yeah, we got it, no worries.
Thank you, Glenn.
Bottom line is, I think that they're trying to figure out a way to be non-taxable.
Of course.
I don't think it exists.
Let's hope not. Come on, guys.
Yeah, I hear that. I didn't know if you had anything you
No,
saw walk by, that's why.
that will be, we'll probably talk more about that position later for, General Assistance Officer. Be some more follow-up on that. Just that.
I think that's a non-public.
Yeah, that'll go in there. All right. So, we'll do the work session, and I guess, Brian, if you wanna be free, you can be, unless you're wanna be part of, hammering out a bunch of dry.
Address it when you get back into non-public.
Yes, yeah, we'll come find out that.
Randy, you can sit down at my contaminated table if you want.
Okay, I've already had it.
If I miss anybody.
The solar panels, their lease come, does not make that an auxiliary dwelling unit?
I think you'd have to be living in the panels, say, you know.
Panels are living there.
Maybe there's little house or something inside the panels that get.
You know, squirrels running around the wheel.
Yeah, I'm not sure how that's all set up.
There was a protocol for that cane that was written up before.
Oh, you got it with you? Alrighty then.
Maybe some changes, because we're gonna put them in a shadow box.
Yeah, I think this is what Chuck had for us before.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's it, there's nothing else that exists. That anybody can find.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah, I think we're gonna. I mean, I don't know what you're gonna need to put in to make it a policy, that's a list to go in the ordinance. So, I did have, and I find that false alarms, I may, for some reason, I think I separated out that particular ordinance.
I left my copy of my edited version of what I'd done on Randy's document at home, so I don't have it with me.
Ah, okay.
So, what I had done, Randy, is I had actually taken your Bedford document and went through it and kind of stripped out some stuff, because I didn't think that was appropriate. But everything else, like, pretty close. Unless you saw something that, you know, since you drafted that in today, that's not in it. And Mike had a couple of other ideas from a couple of other board members.
Yeah, I guess we can go over some of this. I didn't bring the one for, inspections, apparently. I managed to separate that from this stack, unfortunately. But on the false alarm stuff, I think, I wouldn't know how to craft this, quite honestly. I mean, I have a bunch of items in here that do definitions and fines, structures, private alarm systems. do we wanna, like, go into all this kind of stuff?
That document that he put together that I gave you, all that's in there.
Like, I don't know, you can
I forwarded it
have,
to
Oh.
Ryan and copied everybody on it.
I'm assuming this is the one from Bedford. I didn't use the whole zoning ordinance when I went in. That looked like your handiwork.
Something like it.
Cause he had definitions in it, there was,
I think that was from Bedford.
That's the same.
You remember, I wrote this like 25, 30 years ago,
Well, that's,
yeah, I know, but
35,
I thought it was well written.
I can't remember what I wrote.
I'll see if I can, I don't know what I did.
well, that's what
I'll see
we're,
if I can find the email, if I get cause I forwarded this to the town, so there should be a copy of it.
like Glassdown had some nice language in here on the purpose, and it addresses the, responsibilities of assuring that the calls are answered, that the disclaimers, so. As false alarms can negatively impact, the efficiency and safety of these types of calls for service. Numerous, just gives a little bit of a disclaimer to some of it.
Yep.
And then you get into the definitions. There's a lot of definitions, and
Yep.
I mean, I'm fine with putting them in, but I don't know what should or shouldn't be in there. That's where Randy might be able to say, well, that wouldn't apply to us here, or that's not something we would want written that way. So, and there's a lot of, these towns might have a bunch of oversight, as Bedford might have had. You might have had, you had a full-time fire department, which might come in and do certain things that we don't wanna say here because it's not applicable. So I boxed out a bunch of things in here that I thought might be of interest, but I really didn't know how to quantify them or apply them or be even sure that they were relevant. And honestly, Randy, I think, or you would probably have to look at some of these things to even kind of figure out if any of this stuff is, like revoking a permit. We don't even issue permits at this point. So,
I edited I did a heavy edit on his original ordinance
yeah,
and removed all that stuff that didn't apply to us. Shortened it by like a third of the
okay.
number of pages.
Because we're in a lot of pages here.
And I can't find the email.
Does this look like all of what you had?
Yeah, except I'd gone in and already removed, I had gone and put XX dash, and I'd removed all the page numbers. So this isn't the one I put together.
No, this is what I took out of the zoning ordinance or the ordinance that pertained to false alarms.
Yeah, it looks like some of the same stuff. But I whacked a lot of it though because it wasn't applicable.
Well,
I must have it on my home computer because I don't have it here.
okay.
So do you want to, I'll find that edited document, because his ordinance was well drafted and it flowed well,
Yeah.
and it covered definitions, it covered fines, it covered a whole bunch of stuff. How it will be applied, it was very nice. The stuff about sprinkler systems, I just literally whacked all that stuff, it doesn't apply. Oil burner permits, I whacked it, doesn't apply. So I took all that stuff out that didn't apply and left it in there. Looking at what we talked about for violations and fines last year, I thought we might want to address that language in there, because it was only like,
Oh, yeah.
first time, second time, third time, bang. And I'm okay with what was in there, but I didn't know if the numbers might be a little steeper than what we want.
Well, I thought the numbers probably needed to be a little steeper than what some of these places did. But I started seeing things going up as high as 500.
But then there's language in it that says it's also at the discretion of the chief based on what's going on,
Right, right.
whether it's applied or not.
And there's certain things that trigger what's, constitute, an occasion or whatever you want.
Yep.
Well, I don't necessarily want to dump this on to you, Randy, but I'm
Well,
kind of thinking.
If I take the edited document, send it to them, and you can review it, just say, what are we missing? And is there anything still left in there that, like, and clearly this isn't part of Effingham, get it out of there? And then we can sit down, if we want to wordsmith it paragraph by paragraph, we can do that, but.
Well, that's, yeah, I mean, I don't doubt what you've come up with that he has, and what he has here originally, can be a good core, and that's fine, and we might tweak the amount of, you know, how many times are we gonna play the third alarm, the fourth alarm, the fifth alarm, the sixth alarm? Maybe we just say there's a tipping point, you know, 3 strikes, then you're here or something, I don't know, but open for debate. What I'm interested in is there other information in some of these other ordinances or language that's worth adopting, and that's probably where Randy's expertise might be, valuable, because you want something in here that just denotes a purpose. I don't know that there was a purpose in the other one that you had originally, and if there's any kind of language in there that is kind of a disclaimer, like, you know, if we don't answer a call for whatever reason, it's not our, you know, it's not on us. I saw something that,
If I send you something, can you print a couple copies?
Right now,
Yeah. I just found it. Thank you, ma'am. I just found it, so she can print it.
and if we have any inspection ordinances that we could do the same thing with and input because what Randy has here is not an ordinance, but it has kind of the bullet points of, you know, what he's gonna want to include to be inspected.
We could add that as an addendum, as a description around, you know, here are the types of
Right.
units that are gonna be looked at.
So, I mean, again, if we could steal an ordinance somewhere, insert what Randy has, because I'd like to get these things both packaged up together for the same meeting night, because you advertise one time.
Yep.
All
And
that.
it's similar stuff, so it's related.
So, okay, it looks like we might have to get back to this. Do you wanna take these and just talk through and just see if you
So-
have anything?
She's gonna print off a copy. I'll open it, so let's see what email.
And I'll leave your report with you to bring back and add to.
I think the purpose here is a little redundant because the fire department's gonna respond to a prompt anyway. Fire alarm, right?
Okay.
My opinion. False launch may impact efficiency, safety types of calls. Yeah, after you've had about 3 or 4 of them, it's like crying wolf.
Well, I didn't know something like that might be good to put in the document, because now we're gonna start charging you.
Yeah.
So it kinda goes with, why are you giving me a bill for this? It's like, well, you're degrading the efficiency and effectiveness of the department because you keep calling us all the time.
Yep.
You know, this is more for you to just thumb through and see if there's anything in
If you
there.
find language in
Yeah.
a couple of mid documents, just mark it, and what I'll do is I'll have you send me the documents, and in my Adobe,
Yeah.
I can actually go in and do an edit. I can actually move the information into a consolidated draft document, and then we can get down through it and say, do we like it, not like it, tweak it, word it, whatever. But I can just take the stuff, the other things that aren't already in this document.
I just went to other towns that just had them, you know, there were easy pull-ups on Google.
Like I say,
Just one.
A,
Yep, that's good.
I'm doing another one.
you wanna include the police as well, 'cause.
Do you want a copy
Yeah.
too?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Your entire baby.
Yeah, then, if you don't mind.
Your entire baby minus the stuff that I knew that was clearly not Effingham.
Basically, that purpose, purpose could be this right here, adoption of the codes.
I mean, we can all work to jam it together, provided you identify what information should go in it.
If any of those other documents for those other ordinances, you wanna add stuff in there, just mark it, and then I'll get the PDFs from you,
Yeah.
and then I'll just go in and copy paste.
And you want, does everyone want a
No.
copy?
No, I've got one, Chris, thank you.
Yeah, so. If you wouldn't
And I
mind.
just sent that to you, Randy, so you've got that on your email.
Okay.
And we had the one inspection ordinance. I had one.
Yep.
And I don't know, did that come from you? I'll have to get that.
I don't know where it came from, like I said, this, fire alarm warrants is part of my fire officer program, is one of my projects, that you had to write the town ordinance to get it passed.
Wow.
So, like I said, we had actually had 3 nursing homes down there who constantly were going to fire alarms, just like we were for when Lakeview was open. That's what thought we should have one, and like I said, I presented one to the board. John Meisner looked at it and said, well, the town attorney said, we don't need this as a nuisance ordinance, and basically circled it.
We need one.
It's resurrected.
Yeah.
So that's the reason why it was written up as part of my helping officer program.
Oh, yeah,
The only, now, and this clearly is I'm gonna call it a fire department focus kind of thing, but I'm also thinking we should give it to the chief,
absolutely.
police chief, and say, relative to what you guys need, let's embed the language, because we wanna have just one of these, we don't wanna have one for each.
It should have a burial alarm, it'd be the same thing, it's part of it.
Yeah. So, I'll forward that document over to the chief too.
Yeah, and ask for the PD's input and/or if they have some other specific language for the PD, which they are familiar with, like that, incorporated.
So what are we calling this, fire alarm ordinance?
False alarm ordinance. Yeah.
It can't be fire alarms, because you can include burglar alarms.
Right, false alarm ordinance.
What it boils down to is the solar panels, is the whole leasing and not owning the land. That's your sale on solar.
Okay.
Take all this stuff.
Yeah, just thumb through it and bring it back if you can, whatever is useful, there's more there, so. Have it all, don't forget your original document, because you're gonna wanna put that in. You know, whatever you bring back to us, that should be part of that whole package, so I just say keep it all.
This is more of a inspection ordinance than a fire alarm.
Right, but I made the mistake of not keeping it there, so now I don't have it when you brought it up, so when I come back, I'll bring the inspection, because we'll piggyback right on to the inspection from this. Like I said, whatever you find, it's no big deal, it's what your needs are in this, and then we just have to make the language sound. Sorry that we I'll go faster and just out here.
Right, I noticed in one part you had the, wood stove part in there.
Yep.
Another thing I try to get in,
I don't know why we don't. I don't know why we can't.
I brought that up at one of the town meetings when, land-based it for house burning down, we didn't know anything for it. Cause of the fires from a wood stove installation. And I suggested we should have a ordinance that these things get inspected because we've had numerous fires in this town from wood stove pellets that be properly installed. And it doesn't cost anything, we're doing it for nothing, but, yeah, safety issue. And, well, we had one, it probably would've saved a few of these houses.
Well, you couldn't even get insurance, I thought, well, not everybody's insured, I get that, without having it inspected or approved.
If you don't tell the insurance company, I don't know. Because some people that have called me up and stated that my insurance company wants this inspected.
Right. So the issue is that if you don't own up to it on your homeowner policy and there's a claim, there's a little disclaimer language in there that says, you didn't notify us of this potential hazard, so we could rate it in your policy. You don't have any coverage for that. So burn your house down, you got no coverage under your homeowner policy. So it's better off saying, hey, I got a wood stove. What do you need to have done? And let them inspect it.
33 feet of chimney from my basement, right? The clay liner cracked because it's kind of old school now. So my insurance company covered, there was a deductible by putting a whole new lining in, not clay, the stainless steel stuff. So yeah, it's like, why?
Yeah.
Just kind of.
Yeah, in mine, they sent a guy out to actually look at the house to see what it was.
Yep. All right, sorry to, again, to dump it on you, but I think you're the only one qualified to really get through that.
Okay.
Because I tried and I said, this is not for me.
Yeah, I had the neat stuff I knew that didn't apply.
Yeah, that was easy.
That was easy. The stuff that we should have that might not be there, I haven't got a clue. So, good.
Not sure what the water permit was. New installation, I mean, the state. At least they did.
I doubt. Well, I don't know. Nobody.
I know with the plumbing, when I had the house done, the guy's a licensed plumber, and he basically called the state to have the state come in and do the inspection.
Yep.
Which was his insurance company requirement for him for getting a lower rate on his business liability policy. Every installation he did, he had to call the state. The state came in for free. He just had to schedule it. They came in and inspected the plumbing and said, yep, you're good to go. So, but, yeah, okay.
I think there's a fine line without the town having building codes being adopted in here.
Correct.
I'm not sure.
Yep, what we can do. You got it?
Yeah. All right, so we were able to divert all our work on that, Randy. Never mind, I don't know.
It's called delegation.
Yes, delegation. I'll take that and run with it. Bye, Randy. See you, Chief. Okay. So, we've got a few things to talk about in non-public, which is where I think we're going to end up going next.
Fortunately,
Yeah. So,
we had a legal issue, an employee issue, and Chris wants to, 3 items on the docket.
all right, so I'll get Glenn to shut this down if we're gonna take a vote to go into non-public.
Yep.
Well, we'll take the vote now. I'll make the motion that we, let me get my cheat sheet. We're gonna go into non-public on a couple of items. We have, RSA 91A:3, Roman 2A, to deal with, employee issues. We're going to be discussing RSA 91A:3, Roman 2B, the potential hiring of a public employee. We're gonna be
91A, colon 3, Roman 2C, matters which discussed in public could adversely affect the reputation. That one may apply. I'll throw it in there. We'll get back to it if it doesn't. And we're going to go into 91A, let's see, colon 3, Roman 2, L, legal considerations and discussions with our town attorney. So, gonna make a motion to do that.
Second.
Seconded by Mr. Fuller. All in favor, roll call vote.
Chuck Fuller, aye.
Hal and I. And with that, we're gonna enter non-public. We'll take a few minutes to, if you wanna shut that down or.
Thank you very much, folks. Talk to you next week.